All right. Good evening. It's Friday night fellowship. How's everybody doing out there? Hopefully, this mic is coming in okay. I'm not sure if it's coming in all right. I had to fix it there for a moment. All right. It's Friday night fellowship. How is everyone doing out there this evening? I hope everybody's been having a good week. We're getting down to the end of the week. The argument of at the end of the week. Is it Friday or is it Saturday? Is Sunday the first day? Saturday? There's always someone out there I know probably saying those things, but it is what it is. Mm. Started off early with drinking the water from the mason jar. Well, I'm happy. This has been a good week. Not that all weeks are bad, but we'll wait a few minutes for a few folks to pop in. Weather has been outstanding this week. But the only problem is we got a cold snap coming in. I don't know about everybody else, but we do have a cold snap coming in this week. I'm not looking forward to it. I never am looking forward to bad weather, but I'm not a cold weather fan. Never will be. But I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to ask a couple of questions um, about certain people, if they've ever heard of them. I've come across now. One of them would be Tim Wildensmith or Wildsmith, Wildsmithen, Tim Wildsmith. I should have wrote it down. Tim Wildsmith. I'd like to know if anybody's heard of this gentleman. He's come across my algorithm. Not sure completely why he's in my algorithm, but he's there. Uh, he seems to fall perhaps in the category of the Mark Wards and so forth. I've only saw a couple of videos from him, but he seems to be a bit of a bully. It looks like he attacks. He's got some sort of thing with KJV readers. He's attacking KJV people, I guess, and mocking them, which is rather unfortunate. But that's what you're going to get from that crowd. You are going to get from that crowd some folks who try to puff up their chest with some sort of intellectual superiority of which I'm not so sure they have. Um, it reminds me of people who memorize the Bible and yet don't know anything in the Bible. They just memorize. There are people who can read a book. I've known kids in school who can memorize a book, but when it comes time to do the book report, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're like, well, what does it did it say? I don't know what it said, type of thing. Good evening, Brother Jorge. You were talking about snow this week. We got the cold snap coming this weekend, so yikes. I'm going to get it off my chest now. I don't know who's going to show up, and whoever shows up later, I'll say something. But so glad to finally be. By the way, hello, Brother Calvin. So glad to finally be back live. Your recent vids have been very good and hate missing them live. There were many things I wanted to expound on, brother. I'm all ears. As you know, what I mentioned in those, I'm assuming you're referring to the Westcott Hort. I try to keep them as, how's I say, superficial, a very surface level, because we can go really deep. And and I'm willing to listen to anything you say because I've learned a couple of things from you as we've gone through these things. But before we get to that, if you don't mind, I guess this would qualify as a praise report. As some of you know, I have requested prayers for my wife, who's dealing with some health issues or some health scares, I should say. One of them was a spot on the lung, and then there was they thought, good evening, Christopher. Brother Christopher, great to have you aboard. I just saw you pop in there. So anyways, she went for the MRI. We're not big on doctors. I'm not saying we've gone full blown some weird like hide in a cave and never use what exists. Again, always people have to pick extreme positions. But anyways, we went for the MRI, and well, we we're at the hospital a few weeks back, and there was a looked like a mass on the pancreas, and so I'm gonna owe it all to prayers, some fasting, eating well. But she went for the MRI and gone, completely gone, disappeared, gone, just disappeared, nothing there. Went through the MRI, there's nothing there. So pretty excited about that. I remember telling my wife, I said to her, I says, there is no way God would take you this soon because that would leave me to make supper and the kids are going to eat cheeseburgers, pizza, and mac and cheese, or maybe spaghetti. So I don't think God wants to take her yet. That's for sure. Because God don't want me feeding them because they're not getting any vegetables. I tell you what, I'm not good on the vegetables. That's my downfall. Downfall. But yes, indeed, praise the Lord. Yes, indeed, amen. So pretty excited this week. Until today at work, something bothered me and I got a little bit upset. But other than that, man, this week has been pretty awesome. Nothing could really bother me. So um, I'm pretty excited. Did you just tell him he's ready for a trampoline? Really? I don't think any of us are ready for a trampoline. But with that being said, we can go back to what you were talking about, Brother Calvin. You wanted to eventually expound on some things I talked about. But for Brother Jorge, because Brother Jorge loves when I pull a book out of nowhere. But right here, because doing the Westcott and Hort stuff, I'm going through each one of the Bibles that I have, matching up and so forth. Right here, we have the Order of Malta Catholic Bible. So I forgot I even had this up there. It's up in the Catholic Freemason section. So I looked up, and I did not even know this. This Order of Malta Catholic Bible, and by the way, yes, that is an actual order. I'm not gonna get deep into that. But what I found interesting in here, I found two things today. Does anybody see what that says? The New American Bible Revised Edition. So when people say, oh, New American Bible is not Catholic, and I'm looking at an Order of Malta Catholic Bible here. Yeah. How is the Godhead? All right. Gleanings in the Godhead. Right here. Now, I don't know where it is. I did order a long time ago. Stephen, I'm so thankful for the power of the Lord. I knew your wife would be good because of his grace. Thank you. Amen. Thank you. And plus, God doesn't want me cooking for those kids. I tell you what, it's not going to go so well. It's going to be pizza. But the Godhead. So I came across this. I was down in Murphy, North Carolina. Here's the book. So I was down in it's by Arthur Pink. Arthur W. Pink, from my understanding, was a hyper Calvinist, not Calvin, a hyper Calvinist, if I remember well. I think he died back in the late 50s, early 60s, a long time ago. But I knew of his name from a study a long time ago, and that's just a while back. Anyways, so there was another gentleman who wrote a book called The Godhead Doctrine, I think it's called, Brian Denlinger. And I thought this was interesting because I thought to myself, I wonder if he plagiarized any of this. But also, you got the Alpha Omega James White thing going on there. We got the pyramid, circle, triangle. But anyways, so what is the symbol? It's on my AA chips. Alpha and Omega. It's what's the best way of saying it? Not trilateral. What's the word I'm looking for? Somebody help me for the word. I wouldn't call it tricentra. But you got the Alpha and Omega. The AA, by the way, was invented actually by, I believe, the combination of some former priests and Salvation Armyists, and I could be wrong on that. I could be way off on that. So if anyone else knows more than me on that, go for it. I definitely won't argue with you there. But anyways, no one, I think only Brother Jorge and Brother Calvin know who Brian Denlinger is. So I don't know if he plagiarized this, but I did find it interesting because I do remember someone saying about him that no one's really written or attacked the Godhead like that or really put it forth. And I'm thinking to myself, well, here we have someone who did. And this was a long time ago. This book is, I'm not sure the printing on this. 1975 was when this was printed. But I believe I think he was dead long before this book was put out. So I don't know. Somebody can look up the biography of Arthur W. Pink. Humorously enough, that is actually my brother's first name and my father's middle name, and they're not even related. They had different father. Okay, there you go. Bill W. and Bill Smith. So Bill and Bill. That should be like a tire shop. Bill and Bill Tires. Bill and Bill Smith started AA. Okay. I don't know who they are. I never went to AA. As a taxi driver, as a cab driver, I did deliver a lot of people to AA. Brother Chris says 1935. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know. During the past 2 weeks, I've never been more oppressed in over 47 years of being a born-again child of God. That fog of war is finally lifted thanks to prayer and the word of God. PTL, I'm assuming that means praise the Lord. The fog of war. Oh, interesting. I'm assuming you're being attacked for your beliefs, which can be tough. I think all of us here who put ourselves out there, who are, if you're like me, who don't shut their mouths, but are constantly attacked. I think more people are shying away because the numbers aren't there. And even in, I think I've said this before, even in places where you feel safe, even on like YouTube channels, you think you're going to be feeling safe in those places, and then you're kind of attacked because you take a stand on something. I find it funny you say delivered people to AA. It sounds like they were under the influence and had this. I'm sorry. After that last serious comment was the humor, influence had to set them down like a package. So, sorry. Well, because I saw Calvin's comment, I wanted to read that quickly. Yeah, when I drove cab, and Brother Christopher's experience might be different, obviously, but I used to bring guys to their AA meetings, and what would happen on their way to AA, they would stop at the store, usually to buy a nip. If you don't know what a nip is, I don't know if they still call it a nip. Up north, they called it a nip, and those little bottles of different alcohols. So they pick those up. Occasionally, I pick these guys up at AA and then drop them off at a bar, or I bring them to the Packy on their way home. So I'm not sure how well that did. Now, I have an older sister, Dawn. She used to go to AA, and she said to me one time, Fireball nips. I believe Fireball is a rather hard liquor. I've never had it. I've drinking fire water way back in the day, but I don't know Fireball nips. Oh, wait a minute. Are those things that have like a little the advertisement has a little devil-looking creature on it? I think that's the Fireball. I think I've seen that on trucks while driving around. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. So my sister Dawn would say the best places to get drugs are at an AA meeting. Now, I'm not trying to knock AA and say it's never helped anybody. Please don't misunderstand me. But unfortunately, I think the majority of the time it doesn't help because really sometimes I feel like it's a duct tape situation. It helps for a moment. It's kind of like mainstream Christians who go to church on a Sunday and then suddenly by Tuesday they've fallen off the wagon. Uh, that's kind of what I feel sometimes about that. Because without God, without the Bible, you're always going to go back to the same old things. You'll see those everywhere on the ground in the city. Oh, is it that popular up there? I bet you find a lot of them in Fitchburg and Worcester down that direction. Worcester, you probably find a lot of them in those areas, or even Springfield. Springfield, Mass would have them a lot. Nashua, maybe, but there's not really a good downtown. Is there a good downtown area in Nashua? I don't think there is up in New Hampshire. But yeah. So I was actually on that other live stream this evening. Brother Calvin was over there, and I thought some things were interesting. But Brother Calvin, you might know this. Sobriety is a mindset strengthened by faith. Well, without faith, what have you got? You have to have faith in God to get through a lot of things. You're going to have setbacks on certain things in life, but the problem with setbacks is we feel as we're failures. It reminds me of the silver prices and gold prices, right? It's going really well, and then it pulls back a little bit. It kind of falls off a little bit. The economy is doing it, falls back a little bit. So it's kind of, and I feel that way sometimes for a lot of newer people trying to get the right way. They're on this path, and then it fall back a little bit, but they're better than where they were. They were here. Now they're here. They were here, kind of fell a little, but now they get back up to that plateau again. So I think it's a constant, trying to keep yourself on the path and having faith in the Lord and just keeping yourself in the Word of God to keep rolling along. No, do not be sorry. Do not be sorry at all. I've said a long time ago that this live stream was not about me. Okay, it's on my channel, but it's not about me. It's about we, the people, as born again believers. That's kind of what I've always said for a long time. But the other thing, Brother Calvin, you know a lot of these guys. You're in the Nick. You watch Nick videos. Have you ever heard a guy named Tim Wildsmith? I'm pretty sure it's Wildsmith or Wilden Smith or Wildersmith. Wildersmith doesn't sound like it would be a name, but who knows? I'm wondering if you ever heard of him. He popped up. A couple of his videos have popped up in my algorithm, and I watched them. And he's again seems like he's on that Mark Ward type of plateau. Twice I've used the word plateau. On the level, not that you've heard, of. Okay, I didn't. I just saw that. Not that I know of. Okay, all right. He seems to be a bully and mocking and talking down to King anyone, the King James only crowd. And I know that we were just talking about that stuff on the other live stream channel, brother Nick's channel. But I got a few questions for Nick too. I don't know. But it's weird how they're attacking, and then using the Saul Alinsky's approach of accusing other people of doing the same thing that you are. And I did make that comment about demonizing because I thought that was interesting by that Calvinist guy. Now, I've seen that guy before too. I think he makes like goofy shorts and like if denominations were a gun, if denominations were a party or something. I don't know. It was goofy stuff. I guess it could be funny to some people, but so I do know who he is. In fact, that interview that he pulled up, I actually watched some of that a while ago, which I thought was kind of funny. But there's a lot of people will say like, "Hey, King James is it's a good translation, it's great Bible." But here's the deal: it's for idiots. That's kind of where I get a problem with that. And I think this Tim Wildsmith does the same thing, talking down to those, and I find myself a little bothered by him. I think he's again trying to be in the cool crowd. Um, but I will be making a video. I think I'm leaning towards making a video about him or towards one of his videos. I don't normally do that. That's not my thing. Um, I just do what I do, and it falls where it falls. But I was kind of annoyed by it because I'm like, all you are is a wannabe tough guy bully going after people and calling them names and talking down to them. And I'm thinking, you are literally a word we used to always hate, literally um, a bully. You are one of those people who think you're better than everybody else. And that was the claim about King James only is, oh, they think they're better than everybody else. Oh, we got the one true Bible. Oh, yeah, no, this guy is coexisting. They are literally the kumbaya of scriptures. It's like, whatever, man. Hey, man, what you got? ESV? That's cool. ESV is cool, yo. NLT? Yeah, no, that's cool. You got to roll with that, bro. Yo, if that fits your emotional status at the moment of time, man. It's like, what in the world? It's all based on your emotional view. I feel like these type of folks can walk up to a bookcase, and while I got the bookcase over here, walk up and go, yeah, you know what I'm feeling like? I'm feeling like the New American Bible today. That's where my emotions are. No, wait. No, I'm feeling like the Net Bible today. Let me see if I can get some verses that fit my perspective today. They're just picking a bunch of different books. And as you can see in the Westcott and Hort series I've been working on, they all align with Westcott and Hort. But even within that, they changed. And so this guy was talking about how they change. It was about missing verses. Is it modern versions missing verses? No, is the answer he gave. They always say missing verses, and there's tons of missing verses. No one's ever said there's, I saw some of the comments on your W and S. You mean W and H videos? The other versions sound silly, and people still come to the defense of those versions. Yeah, and when I was making a point in those, it wasn't so much as and I do believe the King James is superior, hands down, to any of those modern Bibles. But my point was, how do you trust the Bible? That W and H. Sorry, I see that. How do you trust those versions when they keep changing? When the 28th edition changes within itself. So if one Bible is using the 28th edition and another Bible is using the 28th edition, and they come up with a different verse and different words, how do you trust that? I don't understand how that's even possible. I don't know how, and that's where I feel like, well, now we got sheep. Really, you're not even thinking for yourself. You're just grabbing whatever. You're not searching the scriptures. You're not finding out if they're factual. You're not checking the other ones. And I guess it's not for everybody, but if you have a doctorate next to your name, obviously you're the man. You're going to be the man right there. You got it. It's like, Giorgio, when he admitted the same thing. I don't not like the guy, but when you say you used doctor because you knew it would get other people to watch, that to me is concerning, because you're more concerned about how you look and what titles you have than what the message of which you're bringing. I believe it's not only superior but perfect and preserved and holy. I think it's the final version. No offense to Nick there, but and by the way, I will still order that Bible, his 2023, because I just want to have it in my collection. I'm going to go through it and look at it, but there's no need for it, in my opinion. It's just not. I do not see. I think we just keep keep changing and keep changing and keep changing. I'm assuming you've seen the Message version. The Message version. Oh, did I throw it out because it was the whole cover came off? I might have thrown it away, so I can get another one. Yes, I have. Written by Eugene something, I think. Eugene Eugene Robinson. I don't remember his name. Yeah, no, I don't have the Message anymore. That was a really messed up Bible, though. That wasn't even. I don't even know. To me, that wasn't even a translation. Agreed. That wasn't even a translation, in my opinion. Man, yeah, I'm looking at the bookcases and got a couple of bookcases in here. I do not see it, so yeah, I knew it was falling apart, just like my ESV. I had an ESV as well, and that cover was falling apart. I got to get another one. Um, I'm not buying it brand new. I don't want to do that. I'll try to hit the thrift stores and flea markets. We're going one tomorrow, actually, up in Crossville, Tennessee, because we were just down in Murphy's, North Carolina, and that wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. That flea market, but yeah, within the versions they keep changing them. So from the 28th to 28th. Now I'm getting off track, but I don't believe that you need another modern a rendition of the King James Bible. I just don't see anything wrong with the way it is. I just, yeah, yeah, yeah. And what's the other one? The Passion. I think is the other one. The other crazy nonsense. I'm surprised it's Tim Wildsmith's not pushing that one too. Even modern version advocates dislike the message. But yeah, advocates. Yeah, advocates. I just have. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, yes, in one edition, you can have more than one Greek version of the Greek version of what you're using. It's just it's befuddling that they're okay with that type of confusion. But then again, maybe not everyone's looking. I don't know how many people are looking, and I think that's why I want to do a series. First, I thought I'll do a Westcott Hort, do a few verses, but then I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go all in on this, and I'm gonna do a lot of the ones that I think are important. And we talked about the firstborn, which was interesting. Nick brought that up in his video. I'm like, that's interesting. I just had that. I just did a video on that. But a lot of them take that out. Which is why the old Catholic Bibles have firstborn in them, I believe, but the new Catholic Bibles don't have them in them. So it's and they're relying on the Septuagint, and they're relying on the new text and the Greek, the Nestle Aland, which we all know, which I've been saying is based on Westcott, and that's based on Tischendorf and some of Lockman and Tregelles. And now I'm sounding smarter than I actually am. I'm not that bright, believe me. But when you look at all these different Bibles and they keep on changing, and people say, oh, they found something new. Well, see, that's a lie. That's an absolute lie, because you cannot use three different Bibles for, three different Bibles have 26th edition, but in those three different verses, if you've seen my series, I've actually started putting into a playlist. They change. Words change. So when Tim Wildsmith uses the false premise of, oh, they say that it's missing all these verses, but he omits the fact that, yes, that's true, but he omits the fact that there are words that are changed as well, or words that are missing, or phrases that are changed. See, they like to just hang their hat on this whole missing verses thing, which is true. There are many missing verses in there. And again, all of your modern Bibles today, 95% ESV, absolutely 95% matches up. And I don't know who that guy was that they were talking about on Nick's live stream. I don't know who that is. Maurice Robinson? Sounds like a basketball player from the Milwaukee Bucks in the 1970s and 80s. No, that's Maurice Cheeks. I think his name's Maurice Cheeks. Wrong name. Sorry. But it's not, and apparently he says 94% of moderns match or whatever like that. But they don't dig deeper. They don't look at the origins of things. And it seems like we just glossed over it. And it's not a big deal. I mean, like I was saying about Father Stephen, what's his name? Pisano? Stephen Pisano. Same thing. Awesome. I didn't realize you had made playlists. Yeah, I started so each video that I make on that, I'm trying to make sure I stay under a half an hour. I never thought I'd even go that long, but apparently I do, because I talk long-winded. But yeah, so I started putting. I think I got 5 in there right now in the playlist, and we'll be going through more obviously, and I'll add those each time I do them. I'll throw them in the playlist so it's just easier to find. I lost my train of thought. Thanks, brother Jorge. You know, when I got that ADD. Oops, I just skipped one. I truly believe there's an absolute antichrist spirit and agenda behind all these modern. Yes. Yes. I 100% agree. I disagree with Nick a little bit on this. I might be misrepresenting his position on this. I think he thinks there's nothing. He doesn't feel like there's nefarious stuff behind all the modern versions. We can't blame everybody's. Well, yeah, and definitely in the early stages we can. And even after that, if you look at these men who are on these different committees, how can you not? You had was it Carlo Martini, who was a in line for the Pope, but then you got that Father Stephen Bassano that I was mentioning, also on the latest edition of the USB, the United UBS rather. So, yeah, I can't help but think that they're not. You should make one for your King series. Oh, that's the one I turned into a book. The Edomites, Moabites, Ammonites, etc. in one playlist. I don't think that was the Edomites, Moabites, Ammonites video. That wasn't part of the King series. That was part of a little different thing. That was actually a spin-off kind of Christmas time. Because I was getting into Jeremiah, because everybody talks about, we'll get into Christmas. Where is it? Jeremiah, was it 9? Jeremiah 10? Hold on. I think I based it off of Jeremiah 9:20. It was a spin-off of Jeremiah 9:29. Let me just check to make sure I'm accurate on this. Oh, you're saying make playlists for them? Yeah, I could try to do that. I guess I gotta get more modern and do stuff like that. People do all these cool things, and I don't know. I just don't do them. I don't know why. Jeremiah, and again, using that awesome new King James Bible you got there with those awesome tabs from Brother Chris. Still very thankful for that. Where was I? Jeremiah. So, and I want to get to because I'm going to tell you, because I think it's important because you know at Christmas time we're going to hear the same stuff. Christmas is coming, and I plan on writing a book about it, from a different point of view, I guess you can say, or a different angle that people don't talk about or don't look at. So, well, these pages are still brand new. Oh my goodness, I can't get from chapter 9 to chapter 10. Yikes. All right, chapter 10, right? So, all right, chapter 929. That's what I was talking about. This is where the spinoff came from. It reads in chapter 926, not 29, sorry. Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness. For all these nations are uncircumcised, and Israel uncircumcised in the heart. So, and then it goes into chapter 10. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. And this goes into the tree. I forget what verse is it in 14. Forget which one it is. I'm not gonna look at. But the Christmas tree whole thing comes into this point, right? People start going to Jeremiah 10 for the Christmas tree and so forth. But I go back because Jeremiah 9 is really the precursor to Jeremiah 10. There's a bridge that happens there, and that's when I get into Ammon and Moab, and then we get into the trees, and we get into the high places, and then we talk about the groves, and we talk about the ornaments. And some people will get in this whole, it never says trees in a house or whatever it was, but made a couple of videos on that. I think that's where I got a lot of subscribers way back then, was a lot of hate mail on that one, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. But yeah, I think I'll work on a book on that. That's what I wanted to do. I thought I would spend the year working on and off on it, and perhaps get it out and published by Christmas time. That would upset the apple cart a little bit. But that was the plan. But I did not get to it. I was working on another book, and that I didn't finish that one yet either. I got 3 finished at least. I got 3 finished and published. I'll keep working on them. But you won't see me make an update version of King James. But I will make the playlist. I know that I should make playlists because people seem to like playlist. I did not know that, but there seems to be more than just like instead of going through all person's videos, they just look through the playlist area and they look at a title and like, hey, that interests me, and they just click on that title and then they watch that playlist. So, yes, brother Jorge. So, long story short, I think it's a good idea, and I will definitely try to get to that. Now, I thought I might have made the King series into. I thought I put a playlist together with that. I might not have, but I thought I did. Yeah, the Edomites, Moabites, Ammonites. That one took me a long time to put together. That was fun actually. It was I enjoyed doing that because you hear the same old things every Christmas time. You hear the same defenses and you hear the same attacks, and they're just identical every time. And I'm not saying that some of them don't have some of these attacks or some of these things that prove Christmas wrong. I'm not saying that they're incorrect. I'm just saying it's the same things, but they don't go deeper. They don't go further back. And if you go into my Christmas list, I think I might have made a Christmas playlist. Go back, and a lot of these different other things. There's too many things that are overlooked, or I don't see one for the Kings. All right, so I you know what, you're looking right now, so and you don't see one for the Kings. Okay, I don't know how many of those I did, to be honest with you. I think it was 26 Wednesdays or something like that I did those in. Like it was every Wednesday, they're like an hour. Yeah, I'll have to put. So I'll work on that. I think it's not a bad idea. I'll put the playlist together. It must work because I know on Brother Calvin's channel he's got playlists in there, and I've done that. I've actually scrolled through it, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I'm gonna hit that one. Let me. I haven't seen that before. Let me listen to that while I'm doing something. You recommended David Cloud to me, and I honestly like 15 minutes of them, and that's all I got, and I got pulled away, and I never got back to listen to David Cloud. I don't have a lot of time to listen to a lot of things. You think I would, but I try to listen to different things. There's another gentleman I came across that I found interesting, Tradesman Ministries, so I decided to try to watch some of his stuff. I just can't. Oh boy. And it's when something goes an hour and a half in just talking, it's just I have a hard time paying attention. Sometimes things can get dry a little bit for me, even when the information is good. So I think delivery for different people, as long as the truth is the same, the delivery of that truth can be brought differently. So because I speak differently than somebody else does, right? We take a different approach, a different style, and one might appeal to the other. Like Brother Nick, some of his stuff, I just can't get into it. Then there are other ones he does. I'm like, I'm in. I like it. I'm interested, like the Keith Foskey thing he did. I'm like, oh, let me see what he's got to say about that. I'm gonna click in. Of course, some of his videos I can't catch, but there's just things I just don't have time. I wish I did, but doing all this other stuff I got going on, I try to find something in the background. Once in a while, something will come across my path. But it's hard to find, and I think that's a pretty good reason for this. It's hard to find good King James channels that are really, really true to the Word of God, and because they don't have many followers. Just like I don't have many followers, and that's fine. But I think the channel those type of channels get suppressed. I am wary sometimes when I see channels that are King James channels, pro King James, and that have 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. I have a tough time. I'm concerned about how that got there, but I tried not to, but it's just weird to me because there's a lot more hate on the King James than there is love. Um, Even down here in the South, there's starting to people going, well, the King James, I've always been a King James guy, 1611, but I can find value in the see, there's a change going on. There's a switch going on. And I wanted to talk to my father today about this on purpose because I was listening. I was on my way home and I was listening to Nick, and he mentioned something in the beginning of his video. He's talking about Billy Graham, and I know my father has some Billy Graham crackers in his drawer, his gospel tracks, and I believe it's because of Billy Graham that my father believes that they're born again Catholics, Roman Catholics, which, in my opinion, it almost sounds like a oxymoron. That's kind of, to me. Billy Graham, the first time I heard Billy Graham, just heard him on television. It's kind of like the first time I heard Bill Clinton when he was running for president. He had a press conference, and I'm just listening going, yeah, this guy's not good. This guy's a wicked dude. There's something not right with this guy. That's how I felt about Billy Graham. But so many people fell for that. Amazes me how they fell for that. I don't know, maybe this time frame, but you had these all his like revival things that he fell for, which is nothing new. People have been doing it for years. I mean, you got William Branham was one, and then you had an offshoot of William Branham. What's that guy went to Africa there or South America who killed everybody? Oh my goodness, I could see his face. He's wearing sunglasses. Oh, I can't remember his name. He was a Pentecostal, actually, out of San Francisco. He's the Jonestown Massacre. That's what it is. I can't remember the guy's name. I cannot remember his name. But he was friends with William Branham. He was friends with Derek Prince. He was friends with that whole crowd. He was a Pentecostal charismatic. I cannot think of the guy's name. Somebody help me out. The guy, the Jonestown Massacre in South America. I don't remember his name. I'm too young for Billy Graham. I've seen short clips of him. He sounds like he knew what to say. He did. And that's kind of the problem. That reminds me of Reverend Grant that I was saying. But Jim, I just looked at Jim Jones. Jim Jones. Hold on. Oh, you guys went too fast on me. Hold on. Jim Jones, yes. Okay. Now, I did looked into and realized why you no longer subs to scroll. So I followed your lead, brother. I usually don't believe in guilt by oh. Yeah. I hate to do that. But sometimes guilt by association is short-lived sometimes because someone may, they catch on to something. They go, oh, hey, something ain't right here. I'm not going to follow that guy, and I'm not part of that anymore. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, not that Scroll doesn't have some decent stuff. He spent a lot of time on C.S. Lewis. I got to be honest. I thought pretty much any King James Bible-believing Christian knew that C.S. Lewis was a fraud, but I guess not. Now, my mother liked C.S. Lewis's stuff, but she was an NIV person, so she was in the NIV. The Kool-Aid guy. Yes, the Kool-Aid. So, for a period of time, I used to get angry with people. They would say, oh, drink the Kool-Aid, drinking the Kool-Aid. Oh, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And a lot of people didn't even really understand where it came from. They understood what it meant, like the inference and saying, oh, you're lying and you're being deceived, da da da, or whatever. But I don't think they understood the gravity of that phrase because of, I think, the kids that were killed there. I don't want to be a downer here, but all those kids who were murdered, and Jim Jones, he's that brings me back to if he plagiarized this or not. So I'm going to get into this and read this eventually because I am curious. Because I think he's plagiarized a lot of things from Ruckman as well, Peter Ruckman, which came up a topic on Nick's channel. I guess I have a weird approach to Peter Ruckman. I like some of his stuff, and other stuff I think he's wacky doodle on. But there are some things he's talks about conspiracy wise. But they're not wrong. They just have nothing to do with us, and we don't need to be getting into all that kind of stuff. I still don't understand why some self-proclaimed Christians like to talk about C.S. Lewis like he was some sort of genius. Yeah, he's a writer. What is it? I remember when November 18th, 1978. Are you talking about the Jim Jones? Oh, I remember watching a documentary and the helicopter flyover, and how horrible that was to see all those bodies and all those people. I mean, now the people, they made a choice. They made a decision to follow a cult leader. It was the kids. Always the victims, the kids in this. Dave Hunt has 2 great vids on YouTube concerning Graham entitled Billy Graham is a real puzzle to me. 2 parts, highly recommend. I may have watched it. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So to me, I wondered sometimes in the early days, was Billy Graham on the level when he was first born again or first saved or whatever you want to say? And it's possible, but at the same time, I don't know. If I go back and see some of his earlier stuff, it looks like there were some signs of that he was not actually 100% legit, but I don't know. I'd have to really analyze it. I'll leave that to guys like Brother Nick, who can do all that good stuff. I don't think I'm interested in doing that right now. I like to keep things a little more simplified on that type of stuff. But yeah, Billy Graham is always, and like the Robert Schuller he was talking about. And I think that's the Robert Schuller that had that whole glass dome building. If it's the same Robert Schuller, I could be wrong, but I think that's Robert Schuller, the older gentleman who wore that kind of like that robe there, with the glass cathedral style building. He actually, from my understanding, he ended up being bought by the Catholic Church, I think, which, surprise. I could be wrong in that. I'll have to look into it, but I believe his son tried to take it over or something like that for a while. It didn't go so well. And then they sold some of the property to the Catholic Church. There you go. Didn't last long. These men just come and gone. It's a shame. Yeah, a lot of people like that, though, So Billy Graham, friends with the world, boom. That's all you need on that one. And I think it's possible that he was never saved. He could have been a false convert. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like he was. But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Hearst told all his papers in the late 40s to puff Graham, which is to upplay him in the eyes of the public. Well, there you go. And so that backs up kind of what I was just saying. From some of the stuff I heard of, some of his sermons or him talking in those back in the 60s and the 50s, early 60s, actually, late 50s. I'm not so sure. But it's all, again, tickled the ears. That's what it comes down to. Just saying what people want to hear. That's what it boils down to. The newspaper guy. It's actually spelled Hearst. Wasn't his daughter, Hearst's daughter was the Patricia Hearst. She was part of that whole Weather Underground. Not the Weather Underground. I don't know, one of those militia groups back in the early 70s. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of people connected, a lot of people that time frame who's around now. I can't. Is it Randolph Hearst? Is that his first name, Randolph Hearst? I can't remember his first name, but he had a lot of page. He owned Time magazine. Did he? No, that wasn't. He didn't own Time. Oh my goodness, I'm getting people confused here. Who owned Time magazine? Somebody else, I think, owned Time magazine. But yeah, he was a big newspaper guy, kind of like the Rupert Murdoch of his time. Ha! Wow, bring up a name. There you go. Wow, there's a flashback. My grandparents were duped by Jim and Tammy Baker. Oh my goodness, what a time to live. That was the PTL. PTL. What was the name? I can't even remember what PTL even stood for, to be honest with you. That was, yeah, they had the theme park, Heritage Park. Some of y'all went there. I didn't know. William Randolph Hearst. Okay. It was his granddaughter, Patty Hearst. Thank you. I appreciate that. I thought it was daughter, but granddaughter. Thank you very much. And yeah, she was part of some group there or kidnapped or whatever. He needed that airplane. Who needed the airplane? Oh, Jim Baker? Probably. Probably telling lies. Yeah. Oh, PTL. Probably tell. That's not bad, actually. I'm gonna borrow that. If I ever come into conversation again with the PTL and that comes up in conversation, I'm using that. Probably telling lies from Brother Christopher. He's coined it. That's awesome. Yeah, they had the Heritage Park and stuff like that. I remember I wanted to go, and we were supposed to go. We never did. I was a kid, so I was excited. But I don't know. You don't learn about all those other things till later. It's funny. This has nothing to do with nothing, probably, but I was just thinking about Jimmy Swaggart, Jim Swaggart, Jim Baker, Jim Jones. I'm not saying like there's a thing like Sirhan. Sirhan has something in common with David Hinckley or these two name assassins or three names. Is it supposed to be three names? Sir Lee Harvey Oswald, Sirhan. I don't know. You did. I went to Heritage USA in North Carolina in 1978. And I bet you, as a kid, by the way, I bet you that was fun. I mean, you didn't go there for the biblical experience. Well, you told your parents you wanted to go for the biblical experience. Jim Baker is a free man now. He's on YouTube. Yeah, he's basically doing the same thing. He's remarried. Well, his former wife Tammy Faye Baker died, I think, of cancer. But yeah, Jim Baker's still alive, still alive, and still telling lies. That's what he's doing. So he's hanging on to his PTL days, probably telling lies. Most certainly is. I think he was hawking long shelf food at one point. I think I saw a YouTube of him hawking like 25-year shelf life food. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Yeah, he didn't learn nothing. Didn't he sell his $1 million home to another million? He made plenty of money off of it. So I'm like, whatever. I think the guy who took over or tried to buy out PTL or take it over was oh my goodness, it was the son of a guy who's father. His son, I think, was accused of an affair not too long ago. Liberty University. What was that guy's name? The guy who took over PTL or bought up. Oh, I cannot think of his name. Oh, it's escaping me right now. I get so many names, I can't remember it all. It was fun. I was even in the live audience for Jim and Tammy's show. Wow. But the name of it escapes me. I don't know what their show's name was. Live with Tammy and Jim, or like Live with Regis and Kathy Lee or something. I don't know. Not a clue to what the name was. They were, because they were around the same time as Paul Crouch and over there at TBN. That was that whole time frame. Trying to still think of that guy from that I'm thinking of that took over. Jerry Falwell. Thank you, brother Christopher. Thank you, appreciate Jerry Falwell. And his son, actually, wasn't he just accused maybe like a year or two ago, or his wife was having an affair or something? Or I'm like, boy, I tell you, that whole crowd, that whole crew, that whole lineage, just all the way down, man. It's all rotten fruit on the tree, man, that fell from that tree. It's a sad, sad thing. But Jerry Falwell, that's who it was. Boy, was he something. He was over Liberty University. Now, Liberty University used to be called a Liberty Baptist University. And I don't really think Liberty University is all that good because if I'm not mistaken, wait a minute. I'm going to get to that name in a second. Is that the I'll get back to that in a second. I got a question on that name. And I could be wrong who I think it is. But what was it? Liberty University, Liberty Baptist. Liberty University now, they produced Michael Tate. Remember he got accused of that sexual offense? DC Talk. What was the other artist too at the same time? Toby Mac, I think, came out of there. Liberty Baptist spawned a lot of that stuff. But I wouldn't call them Baptists anymore, just because they changed the name, just Liberty University. So it's a shame. It's a shame. Morris Cerullo. All right. So now my question is, was he the man that was the bassist? Not the bass guitar player, the bassist. Of the Carmen song. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers Carmen from the 80s. I'm hoping Brother Calvin does. Because Brother Calvin and I are I think we're pretty kind of close in age. I think we might be a few 4 or 5 years difference. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But Morris Cerullo, the Carmen sang a song about somebody going into a witchcraft. I do, he says, Kessa. See, I knew he would. See, I thought you would, brother. Oh, yes, Carmen. So Brother Christopher remembers too. That was more of the mainstream. I would say a lot of evangelicals and Pentecostals were listening to Carmen. I don't know if Baptist people did as much. Well, not down here. A lot of Baptists down here would have probably been listening more of Doyle Alexander and Quicksilver and guys like that. Some other names escape me at the moment, but Morris Rose, Carmen sang a song. I can't remember the song, but I was intrigued by it as a kid. And he went to his house with this witchcraft guy and threw the book at him. But that was supposedly based on a real person. Was it Morris Cerullo? Because I can't remember who it was. So watch, I'll be probably way off the track. Probably not even close to what I'm saying. You all are probably right now going, no, I don't know where you got that from, but no, that's not Morris Cerullo. Now I'm gonna have to look up Morris Cerullo because I'll know it by just looking at the guy. Let me see. Well, hopefully I'll know it by looking at a guy like an Italian guy. Let's see, Morris Cerullo. Yeah, nope. That is not. I've seen this guy. I have seen this guy, and that is not who I'm thinking of. Nope, not even close to who I'm thinking of. Okay. I've seen this guy somewhere. Huh. Probably during the PTL days is probably where I saw him from. But yeah, I did. I have seen him. David's he's got a son. I'm not gonna go into all that. Oral Roberts University. Well, there you go. Was it not Oral Roberts who said, if you don't send me $1,000 or whatever it was, God was going to kill him or take him that night? I think he was the guy who did that. Also, he was the I'm sorry, Isaac Bonewitz. That's the guy's name. That can't be it. Because another guy was claiming to be the guy, and he's still alive today. He's one of them prophets. The prophets. I don't think it's Isaac, but hold on. Let me see. Isaac. I think Carmen died. I think he died of cancer or something like that. Most likely, because that's kind of the common theme, unfortunately. Yeah, no, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know why you're giving me this guy. Who is this guy? Yeah, this ain't the guy, buddy. I don't know who this. Oh, neo-paganism. Anton Lovett. Okay, interesting. Huh. I'm curious who this guy is. I'll have to look into that guy. Oh, here you go. Here we go with the Steve Quayle. Steve Quayle is the only modern prophet I know about. Yeah, Steve Quayle. Steve Quayle hooked up with Thomas Horn, I believe. Yeah, no, oh, that guy Steve Quayle. Talk about um the Christian version, I guess, of Alex Jones. Oh, I'm wrong. I have a vid in a playlist about CCM and Carmen is featured in the first. Is it really? And it's not good whatsoever. You mean it's not a good vid? Or Carmen? Carmen was no good at all. Um, he's evangelical. He's from that Pentecostal realm, so he's all messed up. I think if that's what you're referring to, yeah. I'll have to look at it. I've never seen it. Um, I have not watched some of your playlists in a while. I went through a lot of them at one point. A lot of cool stuff in there. Learn about that Brian Moonen guy. I thought he was an interesting guy, but I wonder whatever happened to that dude. Uh, and again, so that guy that we talked about that we know, right? Brother Jorge knows who he is, and Brother Calvin, you know who he is. If you look at some of these other people, you're going to see a common thread. So, what he has done, he's taken from those different people and made things his own. That's what I've seen. Because when I listened to some of his stuff, I was like, okay. I think I've said before, I think his stuff on Catholicism was well done. But there are other things that seem weird. And then when I come across these other people, I'm like, boy, that setting looks familiar. Oh, that looks familiar. So he's basically just taking everybody. And this is my problem. And I think about that verse, and one can accuse me of taking it out of context, but building on someone else's ministry. And that's the problem I have with that guy. Is he builds on other people's ministry. Just like there are other people who were under him who basically built off of him and just kind of followed his thing and just did what he's doing, which is just a shame. Just a shame. Yes, Carmen. Yeah. Um, he's just just another ordinary or just a well at that time what was going on and that in the evangelical Pentecostal I would garner to believe that he's Carmen that he was Pentecostal. I would charismatic Pentecostal Assemblies of God. I'm willing to bet. I remember being in a Pentecostal church because one of his songs was a song that we did a play to, and it was the one that the song that he fights the devil, Jesus fights the devil, and stuff like that. I always felt weird when I did it, and I remember not too long after that is when things seemed weird to me. I started noticing things, and probably because I was now a teenager and I was 13, in that range, 12, 13, and starting to realize something wasn't right. I started going away from just, hey, what Friday night and having fun. We're having Friday night fellowship, but back then, Friday night was when we had youth group. I don't know if it's in all denominations, but I remember we had Friday night youth groups, and they would talk about secular world stuff all the time, which was interesting. They'd be listening to regular rock music and secular rock music and Christian rock music, and like Petra, Striper. I think one was a White Lion or a White Heart or a White Cross or something. I think White Lion was an actual secular band, but White something or other. And I remember as a kid going, "Oh wow, man, this is just like the other music on the radio. This is awesome." Yeah, no, that wasn't awesome. It was just like the world, and that's kind of what the Assemblies of Gods were. Well, a lot of churches are, but they're just like the world. They're just being what the world is. There's no difference. When you're doing all the same things the world is doing, it does not make you different. You are not a peculiar people at all at that point. You're just like them. Um, and I've said that before. And another protege of that guy, I remember him doing those videos there with the superheroes in the background. And I am going to be making a video on that. I think My wife has pushed me a little bit on that one because of Pokemon and stuff like that because she has a boy from a long time ago. He's in his 30s now. Was wrapped up in that, and other family members were buying that stuff for him and stuff like that. And she just got and she's pushed me to want to do a Pokemon video, but I didn't want to do a Pokemon video within by itself because everybody's really done that. But I think what I'll do is I'm gonna wrap that up into the things that are going on with the superheroes and the Marvel superheroes. I was once watching a roundtable. I made a comment on this channel a long time ago. There's these three dudes. These three guys were all sitting around talking about Bible, and they're wearing Flash Gordon, Batman, and I can't remember what the third one was, but I remember one was Flash, one was Batman. You're sitting there with demonic gods, idolization, talking about the Bible, and it really made me angry. I was incredibly offended by as a born again Bible believing Christian. I was offended by that. It was blasphemy. Dino did a performance at Heritage USA. Who's Dino? Are we talking Dino like Dean Martin? Like that Dino guy? Is that was his nickname? Did a performance at Heritage USA while I was there and was trying to get the entire crowd to speak in tongues. Needless to say, I didn't. Told my parents, and we left the next day. Who's Dino? Tell me who Dino is. I don't know who Dino is. Now I need to know. I need to know who Dino is. Now I don't know if you've heard the story, Brother Calvin. I've told the story before. You said they were also cussing. Who was cussing? I'm off track now. Who was cussing? The people at youth group? Yeah, Friday night youth group? Yeah. There were kids in there who sweared. King's Table. Oh, so have I did a video about this? And so I might have look at that. I'm rehashing something I've already said before. I didn't know that. I know you're no. Oh, wow. I forgot all about that. I have not been able to find that channel. Yeah, King's Table. Yeah. I believe he's in North Dakota, eh? He's up in that, North Dakota. I think he's up in that area, because of his accent. I think he's in that area. Maybe he's in Canada for all I know. But it's a boot team, eh? But yeah. Yeah, not him. No, this is another one. But yeah, that guy was like just swearing up a crazy praise I am. That's who the guy's name was. Praise I am. I came across this because it said King James, something to do with King James or something like that. And so I tuned in to listen to it. And he's just allowing them to just, oh my goodness. Listen, I swore a lot growing up when I was younger, right? Listen, I'm not no saint, but to hear people who call themselves Christians, I was just really, really thrown off by it. No, you messaged me. Okay. That was a different group with the Batman, Flash Gordon. Yeah, different group. Yeah, he was just letting this guy praise I am, just dropping the F-bomb. It just was swearing. And I remember texting. No, not texting. What do you call it? I went on his channel to make a comment that I was really disappointed. He allowed them. He says he tries to let people be free to talk. I'm like, what are you talking about? I guess you're a free grace guy too, because I'm like, what in the world? Yeah, that was unbelievable. Listening to people who are calling themselves born-again Christians dropping F-bombs and just swearing, I was just disgusted by that. Disgusted. Dino was a Liberace type pianist who regularly featured Rings on All. Huh. I don't remember him. I names I remember that my father probably listened to or let's see. Sandy Patty was a name. Mark Chapman a name? No, that can't be it. Trying to think some of the names. Now I can't think of them. I could picture him in my Dallas Home. That was another one. Dallas Home was a popular one too. I can't think of all the names. That's all I can come up on the top of my head. For a second, I thought I was going to name off a list that I remember all the tape cassettes that my dad had in there. My dad loved Sandy Patty for some odd reason. I don't know why. I guess a lot of people did during that time frame, so that makes sense. And he liked Israel, music from Israel, all that dancing music, like the mainstream Jewish music that he really liked. But yeah, so sorry, but I went on the rant about praise I am, or I am praise, or something like that. He was just a goofball. Yeah. Michael W. Smith. Now we're just doing a whole catalog of musicians from the 80s now. Michael W. Smith, who was friends with Amy Grant. They were very popular friends. Amy Grant, who cheated on her husband with the country singer there, Vince Gill. Yeah. She could not make it in the secular world music. So she had signed in Christian music. She had basically alluded to this in an interview years and years ago. And that's how basically she got in music. And then she was like this crossover type thing. And like, that's so sad. Michael W. Smith. I remember songs like Go West Young Man, A Place in This World. But he's been around a long time. Guys like him and Steve Curtis Chapman, Steve Green. Steve Green was in the 80s as well. Keith Green was at the same time. I think Keith Green was Keith Green, I believe, kind of really came out of that Jesus movement of the early 70s. That's where I'm pretty sure he came out of the Jesus Freak movement or whatever it's called of the early 70s. He was actually, Keith Green was a prodigy pianist. If I'm not mistaken, his father was Jewish, was an Orthodox Jew. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong on that one. Michael W. Smith. I can't believe we're talking about Michael W. Smith. What's funny is Bob Dylan did a crossover, supposedly became a Christian briefly, or in the early 80s, made an album. I think it's called Blood on the Tracks. Y'all can look it up if you want. I think that was the name of it. Also, Kansas. If you know the band Kansas, they had a 70s or an early 80s song called Dust in the Wind. They crossed over as well. Excuse me, they became Christian at one point, or supposedly. Yeah, Stryper. I was just mentioning Stryper. Got a good story on that one, too. I've probably mentioned that one before about the someone says that they saw demonic spirits coming off the guitars. I don't know if they really saw it, but I know that's what somebody said. Yeah. Here's a tidbit of information for you. Useless information that maybe if you're ever on Christian Jeopardy, the lead singer of Petra. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard, remember, I listened a lot. Being a Pentecostal Assembly of God, you're allowed to listen to anything you want. Secular, as long as you love God, you're fine. As long as you believe in God and you love God, you can do all the things the world does. But there was this band. I've never listened to a single song by any of those we mentioned, and only know about them from the vid I mentioned earlier. Wow, you're not missing anything. Kansas did CCM, yeah. I don't know if that was popular to do in the 80s, but yeah, in the early 80s they crossed over Kansas, and obviously that didn't last that long, clearly, because they're moved on. Now I forget where I was going. Stryper was, I never liked Stryper. I was never a fan of them. I did listen to Petra. That was as hard rock as I got, was Petra. I was not a big hard rock guy. You would think with my behavior growing up and stuff like that, I would have been into that. I wasn't. In fact, one of the I don't know if anybody knows who this is. Don Francisco. No, not the Spanish guy from what was it, Telemundo? Not that Don Francisco, but there was a musician artist in the early 80s, and he's probably going to be, I can probably think he probably went non-denominational. He was with Spiro Records, but left because he didn't like the direction that Christian music was going in, and he thought it was becoming too worldly. Interesting. Um, but he reminded me of a musician of the early 70s named Dan Fogelberg, and they had similar like storytelling styles. So Don Francisco left and just made his own music independent. So he knew something was on the horizon, but he was a late 70s, early 80s guy. And then in the early 80s, he kind of went on his own and started producing some of his own albums. And then nobody heard from him really again. You know, you lose those big record deals, those Christian music groups that are owned by Sony, BMG, Capitol Hill Records, but they're Christians. They're Christians. Another guy, and now Rich Mullins. Rich Mullins was a CCM artist. He was an alcoholic. And a lot of people praise him on what beautiful Christian music he made. He was a drunk. A lot of people didn't realize that he smoked a lot. So no, you not that Don Francisco. I know you have a bit of a Spanish background. Not that guy. Not that Telemundo guy. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, Don Francisco was. I liked the fact that he told a story, and that was interesting. But he didn't last very long. Like I said, once you leave those big name groups of those Christian artists, and I think we all at one point in time get duped. Once in a while, we all fall for something, and then you do one of those. Oh, I can't believe I fell for that. You know, and it doesn't make us bad people. Just like reminds us, hey, come on, focus, pay attention. I don't even know what that is, but whatever you just said there, I'll try. I don't know what that means. I think L means the, doesn't it, in Spanish? I could be, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, a lot of music. I think Christian music and the big change in Christianity. There was different. Each decade had a certain push to worldly things, secularism, but in the 80s, I think we had a really huge push the needle right over to the left. If we want to do left and right being supposedly the conservative, Bible believing, church going people, and left being leftist. But we know that's not always true. The right is just messed up as left sometimes. But using that as a basis of understanding, that needle got pushed in the 80s big time. Music was being pushed over. You had more of the television was bigger than ever in the 80s. Yes, television was around for 30 years before that, going back to the 50s, 40s. But it was a really huge push at that point. And you had a lot of the Paul Crouches from TBN and the Daystar TV people who even started out in the 80s. A lot of that. And that's Oral Roberts was the mentor to Kenneth Copeland. So when you get that going, you had that bridge. Petra. I was talking about Petra earlier. I want to say something about Petra. Petra is also featured in the vid too. Might be able to find it by typing in insight into some of Christian contemporary rock and roll music by Jeff Godwin. I'll have to look into it. Is that a book? I picked up a Seventh-day Adventist book. The Seventh-day Adventist wrote a book on rock and roll music. It's got a picture of a hippie on the cover. I think I grabbed that one time. I saw that and I bought it. Again, another book I can't find. Petra. So there's a band called the REO Speedwagon from the 80s. Well, in the 70s too. They were a rock band in the 70s, became one of them ballad type bands from the 80s. Now, the lead singer of Petra, if I have this correct, actually tried out to become the lead singer of REO Speedwagon before he became the singer of Petra. So they're out of Illinois area, Champaign, and all that at Peoria. So I think it's kind of interesting how it wasn't that hard for the lead singer Petra to go from trying to be the lead singer of REO Speedwagon in the early 70s to becoming the singer of Petra. I'm just saying. I am completely shocked to just find out that Don Francisco is still alive. Okay, you're going down a different rabbit hole, buddy. You're talking about that guy, that old guy, and yeah, I am too. I thought he was alive in the 80s. I thought he was 80 in the 80s. So, um, I know who the guy is. I know he has some weird variety show or something like that. But yeah, the 80s were definitely a push. And that's why you have a lot of things that came in. You got all this stuff going on. You got the revivals, you got the Toronto Blessings, you got the laughing, you got the slaying the spirit with the Benny Hinn's, you got the music changing now, the CCM. And right there in the 80s, it's all pushing over. It's all pushing over now. And you're pushing into 90s where it got a little weirder too. And then they pushed you so far from now. You got the Lauren Daigles of the world. Is she still around? I remember she was around for a brief time. Lauren Daigle. That's the one who didn't want to make a comment on homosexuality or doesn't have an opinion on it or something like that in the Bible. I'm like, okay, that's wild. Doesn't surprise me because she comes from that Andy Stanley church, and Andy Stanley has no problem with that. In fact, Andy Stanley had no problem with it on stage with his father, Charles Stanley, right there. And Charles Stanley, I thought, opposed that at one point in time. I mean, I could be wrong, but Charles Stanley was very popular in the 80s as well. He's gone back a long ways, but again, a lot of that. Kenneth Hagin getting preyed on to get the spirit, laughing spirit, or whatever it was. Kenneth Hagin was a leader in all of that. That came down from that Steve Smith, and came over from England, which I find interesting. Came from England. But he came out of Australia, I think, with that. In fact, the founder of Mount Zion or Zion City, I think, up in Illinois, Dowd, I think his last name is Dowd. I can't remember his first name. He actually, his influences were Congregationalists, definitely, but his Pentecostal congregational, he was under a guy, I can't remember his name, out of Australia. And I've been meaning to ask that guy, Nick, brother Nick, who's in Australia, if he's familiar with that name, because that's where he came from. That's where his start was. Weird stuff back in the early days of 1900 stuff out of Australia, which I found very interesting in that time frame. And Germany is just the root of all kinds of evil. I'll tell you what. But that's fine. You can change the subject. Not to change the subject, but I believe Hilly Billy 9999 is SDA. I just recently realized that when he said he believed Sunday worship is the mark of the beast, along with other beliefs he espouses. Okay, I've seen him talk. I know he's a moderator on that channel, but I don't know much about him. I really haven't caught anything from him, and I think I and Nick will disagree on the aspect of marriage. But what about this Alan Jackson guy? CCM. Oh, is that he's a country singer? I didn't even know that guy was still alive. I know who he is. He's not a Christian. Not even close. But a lot of gospel artists down here. Brother Calvin lives down here. He'll tell you a lot of these guys, they're not Christian. A lot of country music. Come on, Dolly Parton. You think she's a Christian and she's singing Amazing Grace? So, come on. I should have picked somebody else. I live in Tennessee, so I can't talk bad about Dolly Parton. That is talking about Dolly Parton in Tennessee is worse than talking about COVID in front of the Democrats. I'm just saying. Back me up on that, Brother Calvin. Yeah. Alan Jackson is not a Christian. Not that I'm aware of. But again, a lot of Southern gospel artists you'll find have nice songs, but they're not Christian and they're singing gospel music, which is weird to me. Uh, so it's you have to be really discerning to find things. Some bluegrass bands I've had to look at first to find out, and Baptist, but okay. So, all right, this is when your education comes in, Brother Christopher, as well as Brother Chris. Now, gospel music there's different levels of gospel music down here. I mean, aside from black gospel music, we don't go to a church like that. So, but you have the like Doyle Alexander I was mentioning, King James Boys would be a newer one. Um, it's yeah, Brother Jorge is asking right now. I wish I had Brother Christopher on here talking about it. But the gospel Christian music is more of a mainstream cookie cutter stuff. Gospel music is a different style. Then you have bluegrass. I would consider that an offshoot of gospel, not quite gospel, but still gospel. That's my opinion. Um, but I find it very interesting. Although I will say this at the end of the day, when I'm walking into a store down here in Tennessee or South Carolina, North Carolina, I'd rather hear that than the rap music or that rap crap up in, I said the word crap, up all that rap garbage you would find in other places in the big cities or up north. You will hear some of the garbage, some of the garbage on, if you're in Knoxville or Nashville or even Clarksville, actually. I was in a store up there. I was like, why are you guys playing this junk? But yeah, bigger cities. So yeah, like I said, bluegrass would fall under it. Yeah, more of a style. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's more of a style of music like bluegrass, etc. Yeah, so it's a little bit different. So I guess you'll find on my channel when I do the intro music, you'll hear a lot of bluegrass style of gospel music. I like, and I don't mind a cappella hymn music. I have no problem with that. Um, but I don't listen to the Toby Max, all that type of stuff. Elvis sang many gospel hymns, as did Dolly and many other Southern country and rock music singers, none of which I believe are and were saved. No, I don't believe any, not a single one of them. Well, those two definitely no. I don't know about other ones. I'll tell you something that Dolly said in an interview one time. But Christopher, Brother Christopher, you got to back me up on that. Am I not right about the fact if you talk about Dolly Parton, it's worse than talking about telling people COVID was bad? You know, the lefties will come after you like crazy about, but say something negative about Dolly. Say you don't like Dolly down here in Tennessee. Oh my goodness. That's not good. She's very idolized down here. But yeah, so Dolly Parton said in an interview, I caught this interview. I think a Christian station was actually playing the interview. I can't remember where it was, but anyways, while her husband was alive, she was saying that she thought it was hilarious and she thought it was funny because she's a Taylor Swift fan, that her husband, if they were going to invite someone else into the marriage, he'd invite Taylor. And she thought that was a good thing. So you tell me if Dolly's a Christian or saved. You are correct. I don't care for her music. I don't care for her music at all either. Not at all. You know, I don't know if anybody knows what Jolene, the song's about, but I saw an interview where Charles Kirk, Charlie Kirk. Wait, oh my goodness, I forgot how to say his name. Charlie Kirk, that was his full name, right? Charlie Kirk, the guy from Turning Point USA. That I can remember. He was saying how his daughter. Now remember, he's a Christian. He's a Christian. Blah blah blah. His daughter likes to sing the song Jolene. He has a little girl, a little daughter, loves the song. Why would you let your daughter sing Jolene from Dolly Parton? Give me a break. Look at Dolly's past with Cass Walker. Is that the guy who owned like grocery stores? Was pretty popular here in Tennessee? And if it is, then I'm not gonna go any further than that. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Not good. My mom loved Elvis. Yeah, my mom did too. To get around my dad not wanting secular music at home, we had Elvis Christian music and Elvis Christmas songs. Yikes. I love all the intro music here, brother. Oh, thank you. It's my although I also like some Southern gospel music from the 60s and 70s. The Inspirations. I think were the Imperials around at that point in time too? Is that I might have the wrong name. Is the Imperials a name from that get-go? I think so. Yes, he was a character. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to go any further on that one on this beautiful, lovely Christian station that we have here. But well, me by me saying that, gentlemen, you know exactly where that road would have gone about her and all that. So that's a yeah, yeah. If I've learned it from people here, but outside of people here, brother Jorge, I'll tell you what. One of these days, I'll text you and I'll tell you the backstory on that. It ain't good. Um, but brother Calvin might know. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't know about it until I got to Tennessee and I talked to people. I'm like, oh, I did not know that. So yeah, it's funny how things are. It's like the TVA. We all think Tennessee Valley Authority is the greatest thing ever that existed from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but Tennesseans have their own view of TVA. A lot of things have happened in Tennessee. It has a very long past. Enough said. Yep, enough said. My dad literally cried the night Elvis died. It's one of only a handful of times I've ever seen him cry. Yeah. Um, and I get the emotion. I don't agree with the emotion so much, but I understand the emotion, the impact that that person had in society and culture and the world and all that. And when he wasn't really a good person. So, but people thought he was great. It's like Johnny Cash. Everybody loves Johnny Cash, and they forget he was a dopehead, really, at the end of the day. I see he was the mayor of Knoxville, but I don't know what the deal is with Dolly Parton. Okay, see, I knew. Yeah, I'm telling you, I will text you. I'll text you. I promise. I'll text you a couple of items. I'll text you one thing, and it'll just sum it all up for you. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't remember my mother crying. I don't remember any of it because I don't recall that. But she was a big fan. She was one of the poor people who bought the Franklin Mint. Was it the Franklin Mint? The plates and the what's the other one? QVC was another one. You'd order out those TV, and yeah, she had that stuff. She had that. She was in the Mary Kay and Mary Kay Cosmetics and Tupperware and stuff like that. But okay, like my kids say, you yes. And if you're anything like my kids, they'll tell me, Dad, remember you when you promised? Did you forget? And I'm always, yes, I did forget. TVA, that's a whole story, especially for Tennesseans who are, yeah. I was, some Tennesseans don't believe that was a beautiful thing at all. Um, yeah, it's amazing how when you're not in an area, if you don't live in Florida, right? You don't know a lot about Florida. You know Disney World, Miami. That's what you know of Florida. Tennessee, you think Confederate flags and racist. That's not true at all. The Northeast, everybody lives in New York City. Each region has its own interesting thing going on, which I found the same thing when it comes to Bible believers or people who call themselves Christians. In each region, it's different. It's interesting how what they consider being a Christian or loving God or anything like that. With my kids, I'll tell them, first of all, I never promised. I said maybe. Okay, try this one. This is what I always say. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, that's what we're going to do. But something could happen that I didn't see, and that's what we're going to be doing. We were going to go up to the RC store, like, those little remote control cars. My youngest, Josh, loves them. He likes RC cars, and my next son up, Alex, he likes collecting coins and looking at wheat pennies and mercury dimes, and that's his thing. So I've got to tailor that around that. My oldest one is 21, so we don't do the same things, but he likes knives. He likes looking at ammo and different types of guns. He has a lot of books on how the old antique guns were made and stuff. So that interested him for a while. So as a parent, and I'm not trying to tell people how to parent. I'm just, as a parent of multiple children, you've got to figure out how to associate or to bond with each child over different things and their interests. So it's a great balance. It's like my wife who has to cook food. Everybody likes this and that and the other, so she's got to figure out how to put it all together. My mother did that pretty decently when I was growing up, but that's a talent, I tell you. I was going to say something about tongues earlier on in the conversation. When you were at the Billy Graham, I forgot where it was you were at for tongues, and and stop me if you've heard this before. I was up in Van Buren, Maine, and if you don't know where that is, I don't blame you. Nobody does. It is literally at the very tip of the Van Buren, at the tip of Maine, where the St. Johns Valley River runs. So I actually got to canoe some of that. Yes, canoe. I didn't boat it, but I canoed some of that St. Johns Valley River. That's the place. That's where I was when I baled the hay with no gloves, brother Jorge. I think I told you that story. But Van Buren's way up there. So my uncle Armin and my aunt. No. It's where you fell in love with hay baling. What a stupid, ignorant kid I was. Well, I don't need any gloves. What a dummy. Even though I live in Florida, I have a Tennessee phone and area code. My family has a group plan, and my niece who lives in Nashville, wow, it was nice enough to give me one of the phones she was not using. Oh, that's pretty cool. Nashville, wow. It gets busy in Nashville. Brother Christopher can back me up on that one. Whew. You drive through Nashville in the afternoon. Listen, brother Jorge, Boston ain't so bad. And Hartford ain't so bad. Nashville can get rough. You're coming east, and if you're coming up from Franklin, if you're coming down Franklin up and in to get to 40 to come home, it is ridiculous. The wrong time of day, it is not good. No, I have not. Brother Christopher, I bet you, has been down that direction. I've been wanting to get down to Atlanta, just to go to Atlanta, just to be in Georgia. I love going to different places. I tried to talk my wife in a couple of weeks ago to drive up to Missouri, just to drive up to Missouri and come back. I know. That's who I am. I love being on the road. I love traveling. You better be safe to drive through. Better be safe to drive through Nashville. Oh, Lordy. That's where all your gospel music is from the country singers. I don't even think country's country anymore. 285 is correct. Yeah, I've heard I have heard down there it is a rough go. It is a rough go. And I can't wait to go through it. I've driven New York City. I've been down Long Island area. I've been through Boston. I've been through Hartford. I've been through a lot of different areas. I've been able to go through Nashville. I will not go through Memphis. I will go around Memphis. Clarksville ain't bad. Been up through Kentucky, obviously, but Philadelphia is real busy when you go through there. That's pretty busy as well through that section. Yeah, you and I are alike sometimes when we've talked before. We talk about something and suddenly we got a story. It's like when we go for a coffee and then suddenly go, hey, I got a muffin to go with that coffee. Let me tell you, country is pop now. Yeah, I don't know what country is anymore. It's all the same to me. It's all junk. It's just all junk. Uh, I don't think there's any, um, say what you will about secular music. I would have to say, outside of wacky people, in the 70s, it was, I think it was much better. I think there was more put into the music. And I think a lot of things like that were like that. Books, movies, music, a lot of things were, more time was put into things. Now everything's just the same. Yeah, or I got a guy. Yeah, I got a guy for that. Yeah, I got a guy. I'm getting guys down here. So, it's nice to have guys. Got a mechanic. When I was up northeast, it was different. You spend your whole life in one area, and you got the right mechanic. You know the right mechanic for this. You know this. Got a guy for that. You got a guy for that. Then you move to Tennessee. Then suddenly you ain't got a guy for anything. Uh, so thankfully, with good friends like Brother Christopher and Brother Jeremy, who is never on the station, he's never on YouTube. He's hardly he doesn't watch this stuff. It's funny. I talk to him once or twice a week. Real good guy, but he's never normally on here. Um, but yeah, it's good to have a guy. Definitely good to have a guy. We're gonna drive up to Crossville tomorrow. I don't know. I think that's the flea market I'm thinking of, that I want to go check out. It's pretty decent size, but we're going up there because my wife. Oh, brother Christopher, you might know. She says there's a waterfall or something, some water, and it's gonna be beautiful out tomorrow. And she'd like to go up there and check out the waterfall. I'm telling you, the way she admires what God has created is amazing. She just everything is breathtaking to her, and it's wonderful to see how much she just appreciates what God has done. I wish I had, and I do appreciate, but I don't have as deep as appreciation as she has. Just looking at what God has created for us. But I know this. Go to Cumberland. How that's no excuse me, that's nowhere near where I'm going. I don't think that's anywhere by that 111 flea market, is it? It's got to be way away from there. I think that's a long drive. It's already going to take me 2 hours to get up to that flea market area, which I hope isn't dead because 2 years ago, 2 years ago I was up there, and it was just nothing going on. I love Cumberland Gap, and I have driven by. Okay, I've driven through the area. I have not stopped there. There was this one spot I did check out, which was pretty cool. But for brother Jorge, who's never been down here, and he is definitely, obviously, open door invited. He's been to my house up in the Northeast, so he has an open invitation down here anytime. You bring your girls down here. My wife will watch them all day long. She loves kids. Um, but what was I gonna say? Oh, brother Jorge, if you go to Quabbin Reservoir and you check out the view from up top of the Quabbin, it's kind of like the view you get up there in the Cumberland area. Not as nice, but kind of similar, I would think. Oh, is it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. It's Cookville. I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Um, it's not too far from all that road. They got all that built up now. They got a bunch of stuff over there, but I think it's not too far. A couple miles from there. I have driven by the Quabbin. Yeah, the Quabbin. The Quabbin's got the same. Okay, for you guys down here in the south, the Quabbin is kind of like the same story, as the Smoky Mountains and some of the areas in TVA where people were driven out of their homes. Some of the land. Oh, heard some thunder in the distance. It better not be raining tomorrow. It's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Um, wow, the my pod shed shook a little bit there. Um, yeah. they flooded out the area. Some people did not leave their homes, refused. They died. Smoky Mountain. Brother Christopher and Brother Calvin would know more of that history as well. People were forced off their land, and government took it over. And some people were allowed to stay just long enough, and as soon as they died, the family wasn't allowed to have property. It's crazy how government just takes and takes and takes. Cummings Falls State Park. All right, I'm assuming that's the one that's going to be near Cookeville. Okay, I'll check that. I'll have my wife check that, and maybe we'll stop by that spot. Let's see. Eminent domain. Yeah, I was living in Fitchburg, Massachusetts at the time, and they had a yeah. I'm gonna get to that, Chris, for your next comment because I learned something kind of close to that. Eminent domain. I was on Route 2, not Route 2, Route 12. Route 12 goes through Fitchburg, and they were fighting eminent domain because they were thinking about taking 10 feet off the line into your house. So I'm thinking to myself, the house we lived in wasn't even 10 feet off the highway. If they expand that road, then we don't have a home. It was crazy. It didn't end up passing, but it was right on the board on Route 12 going into Leominster from Fitchburg. I lived right over there by the Fitchburg projects, outside of Fitchburg projects. In fact, I went to a school called South Street School in Fitchburg. Now it's a Dollar Tree. Tellico Village was farms until TVA. Yeah, so I was over at Fort Loudon once, and I was talking to one of the guys over there in their little thing. He's part Indian or whatever, and he was pointing over to some land, and it was flooded out. It was taken out and by the government and stuff like that, and took over that. But Tellico Village, yeah. Now, are we talking Tellico Village? I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Are we talking about over there on your way to Lenore City on 72? That's what I'm thinking of. I could be wrong. I don't think you mean Tellico Plains. So that happened in the Quabbin. Yeah. In fact, in the Quabbin, where the Quabbin is, now check the history on this. The Springfield Rebellion during that whole Revolutionary War time was planned in a tavern, very historical thing, a tavern in Quabbin, where Quabbin is. In fact, if you take helicopter flights and stuff, you can still see pathways going into the water where it is. But that's where the Springfield Rebellion actually was took place. Yes, okay, the one on 72, yeah. Over there by all the fancy rich folk live over there, I think. I go by that way sometimes. I'm on my way up in that direction. I was up in that direction for some reason a couple of weeks ago, or a week or two ago. I don't know why I was going through there. I don't know where I was going. I couldn't have been going to Knoxville. Huh. It's going to bother me now. Where was I going? I don't know. One of my businesses was taken by eminent domain in 93. The location is now a retention pond. Oh my. Wow. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry that happened to you, brother. That's crazy. Wow. That is unfortunate. Yikes. 93. I don't even remember what I was doing in 93. I was probably getting into trouble in 93. That's for sure. But yeah, and that's what I was talking about the TVA. A lot of people think it's a wonderful thing. They look back on it, goes, "Oh, we're just going to help you farm your land better, and so you could have more crops." Because the Southerners didn't know how to live, they got by. The Appalachian people, they got by. The Appalachian people, Brother Calvin, is that guy Hilly Billy from Kentucky? Because I thought I heard a reference to something about Kentucky, so maybe Kentucky. God bless me with a better one, though. That's awesome. That's awesome. Praise the Lord. That's awesome. We are working on a 2-year plan for a business ourselves here. I do believe 2027, Georgia. Okay. Well, hard to farm underwater.
I don't mean to laugh, but yeah, it is. It would be hard to farm underwater unless you're trying to get some seaweed. I don't know. Yeah, so we have a plan here, my wife and I, and I've driven 26-foot box trucks and stuff like that, and I've been a driver for a lot of time in my life. I've driven cab, driven trucks, I've been in deliveries, so I've done a lot of that, and I love driving. We talk about all these roads and stuff like that, and I just love driving. So we have decided that it's possible, if Lord willing, if God opens the door, we are going to open. I don't know if you want to call it a trucking company, but we're gonna somehow get two B trucks, one non-CDL, and two 26-foot box trucks, one being CDL, one being non-CDL, and a cargo van, and work for ourselves, because I believe 27, there could be even more layoffs from companies and harder to get going. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep that. I'm hoping it's going to happen. We've been breaking down finances, breaking down how much insurance will cost. Nowadays, it's not like it was before. Now you have those load apps that you can go on to. Hope I just didn't see that. I've had a Class B CDL since '90. Nice. Yeah, I said had. I knew what you meant had, so I just said had. That's awesome. So that's the plan there, and then we'll work for they nowadays with the internet, and you got you're able to bid on jobs these days and stuff like that. So I think that's something. I thought I'd like going back to forklift driving. I'm a forklift driver, a reach truck driver. I'm always working on those type of equipments, and as I'm loading some of these trucks, these box trucks, not the 53 and the 48 footers, and when I drive home from work, it's about 23, 25 minutes to get home, which I'm blessed with the commute, because a lot of people can commute a lot longer. I just miss driving, but I don't want the cameras and all that kind of goofiness that was happening out there. So we decided, if the Lord opens the door, we got a 2-year plan to put this together and to be able to work for ourselves and not have to worry about other people. Let me know. I'll drive. Oh, we got to talk about what's going on with that situation there. But yeah, I would call you. I'd call you in a heartbeat. Because dock to dock, it would be dock to dock jobs. Both trucks will have lifts, because, as you know, down here there's sometimes shops that have to ship an engine or a transmission or something, but they don't have a dock, so you have to have a lift gate to lift that up and put your truck. So we'll be making sure we look at it. That's why I wanted to get 3 different vehicles to really cover all the way through. But it's in God's hand. We'll just pray, and if it's meant to be, he'll open that door. If it's not meant to be for us to do it, then so be it. I'm going to prepare as if we're going to do it. And if God says, yeah, it's not part of my plan, then so be it. It's not part of his plan. It's not about our plan. We get that confused sometimes. I know we want certain things. We want what we want, but we ain't always going to get it. And we're not always meant to have it. So we just have to roll with that. And I'm okay with that. It took me a long time. As you get older, you accept it more. You don't always accept it perfectly, but you accept it more than you did when you were younger. These things happen. So we'll see. It'd be nice to be able to work for myself, to get that going again. I've always thought that that'd be an important thing to do, because with the times coming and the economy crashing, all that going on, I've had these conversations. One guy I talked to at work is like, oh, that ain't going to happen. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, nope, it's not happening. We're going to get busier and busier and busier. I'm like, 2027, man, that's what I feel. And I could be wrong, but I think that is really, I think I've talked about this before, and I've talked to Brother Jorge about this. I think 2027, I've said this for a long time. I've said this for years. I think, you think you have bad times, and I think things are going to get really bad. And then again, the other thing you have to look at as a born-again, Bible-believing Christian, when did you think it was going to get better? That's the thing I don't understand. I'm like, it doesn't get better. Where in the Bible does it tell us, oh, don't worry about it, it's going to get much better? Yeah, when I'm not here. That's when it's going to be better. When I'm no longer here, that's when it'll be better. So we think that's going to happen, and I like to avoid that and be able to take care of my family. As a man, you're supposed to take care of your family the best you can. We don't always do a great job, We don't always make $90,000 a year, but you don't need it. Make $90,000 a year. Once thought that was a thing, but it is not. You can live well below your means. I was just talking about this guy at work. His buddy lost his job, makes 3 figures, makes $120,000 a year, and lost his job. He's some big IT guy. I'm like, okay. He goes, now they don't know what they're going to do. I'm like, okay, hold on. They made $120,000 a year, and they don't, know what they're going to do now. Yeah, I don't. Hold on. I'm a sneeze. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. We're only human. I believe. Oh, okay. When we see Jesus ruling, it's going to be the best. Amen. I believe 2020 is a tipping point, also, brother. Yeah, I really do. And I've said this for a long time. I'm not going to say how I came up with that because it sounds like a weird story, like of some sort of, oh, you believe in prophecies and dreams and you're one of those charismatic wackos. No, I just woke up one day and it just sat with me. I'm like, 2027, something bad's going to happen. 2027, it's going to be a turning point in this country, or like you were saying, tipping point. Last time I had a feeling like that was years ago. I had a dream, or I woke up feeling like when I hit 30 years old, my life, the way I have it, is going to be completely gone. Who I was, all of it gone. It's just gone. I'm like, wow. And I thought I was going to be dead. I'm like, did I just envision my own death? I'm like, this is not cool, man. What kind of demonic spirits got in me? Well, when I got 30, my whole life completely changed. I had my son. I got married. I moved completely away from where I lived. Cut ties to everybody I knew, all my friends that I once knew then. My whole life was completely changed. So I do believe that the Lord gives us things, but not in the crazy prophetic sense that you see out there. These weirdos going, God spoke to me and said, I need your money. No, I don't, it's that kind of stuff I don't believe in. But anyways, and I says $120,000 a year he made as an IT guy, and they don't know what they're going to do now. How are they living? See, this is the problem we have. And I believe Christians have the same problem sometimes. We do not live below where we should. We make $100,000 a year. Well, I don't, not even close. But you don't. But you live your life and you spend as if you have 100. No, you make 100,000 and you live like you got 30. I'm using a hypothetical number because 30,000 ain't going to cut it everywhere in this country. But you get the point. I'm like, why are we not living below our means? I don't understand this. We're not supposed to be doing it. So now that's why I said, well, he should have been planning. I says, I'm sorry for your friend, but how come he wasn't planning? How come he wasn't putting money aside? How come he wasn't preparing? Because anything can happen. We all know this. So I could lose my job tomorrow. I'll be okay for a while, but I could lose it tomorrow. All these things can happen. I just live below our means. I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. Live off the land the best that we can do. We're not great. We've got chickens. We've got vining plants. We've got, fruit bushes. We got a couple apple trees. We got plants in the garden and stuff like that. And we do the best that we can. Hopefully we can do more as things go. But these IT guys don't know how to work with their hands unless it involves a mouse and a keyboard. Well, I currently am using my mouse to click on these comments, but yeah, no, I would have to agree. Some don't. Yeah, some don't. And it's going to come down to it. And I'm not even close to where I should be either when it comes to work with my hands. At 14 years old, I said I was not getting married until I was 30. Guess what? Nice. I got married at 30 years old and only remembered I said it after the fact. Yeah, I believe we're given things sometimes. I'm not in the, again, you say certain things, you get pigeonholed into some sort of category. But I do believe the Lord gives us things. And, for me, for the most part, I think I've been blessed with discernment. I'm not blessed with other things, but I've been blessed with a great deal of discernment. I can normally read a person in a few seconds of meeting them, um, but there are other things I can't do. I'm not blessed with the ability to build a house. Some guys are, and that's awesome. And again, we get into that whole idea of every, there's a finger, there's a hand. We're all part of the body of Christ, and that's why I've always believed that we should have some sort of network, that not just some make believe network that we're never going to ever use, but hopefully a network of which you can actually put into practicality. It's kind of like preaching and teaching. There's a lot of guys who like to preach and teach, but yet they can't seem to actually put into use because they never had to. It's like when you listen to a preacher preach about how to be married and they ain't married, how to raise kids, and you ain't got kids. No offense, but you're preaching and teaching on something you don't know. It's like having a newborn baby going, yep, got this newborn baby. This is how you raise them. Well, how about you raise them first? Then come back and tell me how to raise. I'll build your retirement home here in New England. I'm not going to New England. I'm not going back. No, actually, my wife and I were just talking about the other day that eventually we will go back, but we'll go up to the Cape, up Cape Cod. It's beautiful in the summertime up on the Cape. We'll pick the non-tourist areas, like over the bridge in Bourne, the beach over there. It's not a lot of people go to, so we'll go to there. New England can be beautiful in the fall, though. As much as I say bad things about New England, actually, I don't think I say bad things about New England. I'm just glad to be out of the cold. New England is definitely beautiful in the fall. We did enjoy some foliage down here, going down 68, going over to Murphy, North Carolina, and we got to go 68 and I think Runyon Road, cutting across that way, and it was beautiful scenery down that way. So when the road started closing in a little bit, that's when it started reminding me of the back roads of New Hampshire, up in Vermont, all that, Western Massachusetts, up in those areas where the foliage is. And that's what it reminded me of, because mostly down here, Brother Jorge, Tennessee, the roads are more wide open, which is really cool because you can see views from a long distance, which is nice. Nice route. Yeah, going over Runyon Road. I think that's my first time going over Runyon. I thought I had gone over that road, but when I went down, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think I've been down this direction. I've gone down, obviously 68 down to Turtletown. 411 down to Turtletown, going through that direction, going over the Ocoee River and stuff, which is a nice river too. The only problem with the river over there, Ocoee, or am I saying that right? Ocoee. I can't look at it because I'm driving, and when you drive, you can't really see it. People in the vehicle can see the area. It's beautiful. But I would say nothing. The Ocoee River up in Northeast, I think of the Kangamangas Highway up in New Hampshire. They actually have a white sandy beach up there, which is funny. That's a nice ride. That kind of reminds me of that, the Ocoee River, because you can see the river, or you used to be able to see the river down over there. You don't want to see the Merrimack, that's for sure. I mean, ain't nothing to see there. That runs into some bad areas actually up there. Don't want to look at that at all. But they have some nice areas. But it reminds us as we drive too. It's like, man, how can you be an atheist? I just, it's hard for me. I'm like, God created such beautiful scenery, and different parts of the country have different types of scenery, and I haven't seen them all, but what? Hold on. Not that, okay, I got two here. I didn't see this one. East Tennessee and West North Carolina is God's country, as the old saying goes. Yes. It's absolutely beautiful, and the air smells so clean. And yeah, that's, I guess not a lot of people would get that, I guess, but yeah, that is true. It's clean. It's just clean. It's nice. We were, when we went to Ocoee River, when we were there in May, we were last May, we went down to that section where you can walk along these paths, and there's a long bridge over there. It's beautiful. And then it started sprinkling out, but it wasn't really bad. We headed back and walked back to the vehicle, but it's beautiful. Kids were in the water. It was May. They're in the water, and of course, the kids kind of were lying to us when they said it wasn't cold. You know how kids are. Oh, that's it's good. It's good. I don't want to leave. It's not cold. It's not bad. It's not bad. The Ocoee was built up for the what Olympics? I didn't know that. Huh. There you go. I learned something new on that one. I am, however, going to go back down to Murphy, North Carolina, probably in a couple weeks. I think I'll go down. I found a Bible bookstore, a Bible bookstore down there. At least it was better than the one that's near me. I ended up, in fact, that's actually where I bought this. That's where I ended up getting this book. They had it in the used book area. They had some Clarence Larkin stuff, which I thought was fascinating. I wouldn't have thought they would have carried it. Bookstores don't usually carry something like that, Clarence Larkin. It's just not a name they would carry. They usually all your Bible bookstores are always carrying certain things that are New Age-ish. Or hold on. Well, first of all, welcome, Colin. Thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it. The night skies in Arizona are crazy. Not much light pollution, so the amount of stars is crazy. Yeah, I've heard it. I don't know it, and I hope to get there eventually. We have plans of driving a lot of different places, but yeah, I've heard that. I believe my son might be going out there. Excuse me, next January or at the end of January, February, something like that. I think he might be going out there. I'm pretty sure he's going out there. Not a big fan of why he's going out there, but he's old enough to make his own decisions, and we can only do our best with him. Yeah, so he's going to be in the National Guard, and I believe he's going out somewhere in Arizona. I don't know if you can hear that, but it is starting to rain. And I thought tomorrow was supposed to be a beautiful day. So, not too thrilled about that. All right. Really nice place to eat over. Really nice place to eat over there was in Maggie Valley, named Maggie's Galley. You must be talking about Arizona. I know Brother Christopher's been to multiple places out there. If you don't mind telling me, can you hear the rain that's hitting my roof? I got to insulate that roof. It's dark now here in the morning before I go to work now. When I look up, I can only say, wow, beautiful. Yeah, you're going in earlier than I am now. I'm not going as early. I always feel like I'm yelling. I have a metal roof on this pod shed. I have got to get this insulated to block out the sound. I wasn't expecting a rainstorm, so apparently we got rain. I'm not happy. Tomorrow's supposed to be a beautiful day. But yeah, eventually I'd like to get to Arizona out that direction. North Carolina, yes, it's coming down here too. Yeah, wow. The water, creeks, and lakes is always cold up yonder, even in the summer. It is, actually. My youngest son is going into the Army in 100 days. Please pray for him. Will do. That is on the list. I think you mentioned that, excuse me, a couple weeks ago you were talking about that too. I have my opinions on the whole Army government thing. I'm not against people who are going into the Army and stuff like that. I don't know. It's tough to, but I mean, like you're proud of your son, but I'm proud of my son that he's doing this and he's doing something. He's trying to do something noble, I guess, and worthwhile. He wants to get into the TBI when he gets out and, basically help solve things for people who've had family members murdered and stuff like that. He wants to solve that type of stuff to bring closure to families, which I think is a wonderful thing. The rain is getting crazy. Only 2% chance of rain tomorrow. The high's near 70. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, tin roof, I guess. There's a tin roof. Can y'all hear that? It's really interfering with my highfalutin
podcast. Man, it is coming down really bad. I got a little window over here. It's coming down pretty fierce, actually. But that's the South in general. Tennessee might be bad with their when the sky opens up and that rain falls. But I'll tell you what, when it's in Florida, Brother Calvin, yes sir, but it's not an issue on my end. Yeah, I have again. It's just something for me. I got mixed emotions about it. Again, I don't want my son to, yeah, anyway, we don't want to get too serious on that and think about anything bad about what's going to happen. I'm in a red patch. Okay. You're in a red patch on the radar now. Oh, beautiful. Nice to be in a red patch. Usually, I do try to plan these. Tin roof will get you a pretty penny and scrap. You know I like pennies. I was talking about the rain. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Yeah. But in Florida, I remember a couple times being in Florida. When it opens up and it will stop on a dime. The only thing I can think of was a basketball player, John Stockton, in the 80s. My brother played just like him, and he had a jump shot. He kind of just stopped. A nice jump shot. And that's how it is down here with the rain. I've noticed that in Florida. It just floods. It just comes down and stops, and the sun comes right out in the afternoon. I'm a weather geek. I did not know that about you. That's interesting. Usually I have to wait till you're my father's age to worry about the weather. Although my 10-year-old, well, he's going to be 11 in a couple weeks, he has a temperature gauge on the front porch. He likes to check the temperature every day on that thing. He likes keeping track of the temperature. I don't know why. It's interesting. I think when we get to a certain age, we know that the weather is whatever it looks like when we wake up. Yeah, but I was not. When the rain is really thrown off my my streak, whatever you want to call it here. Hopefully, I'm out of that red patch pretty soon. I don't like to feel like I'm yelling, which is what I feel like right now. So I'm yelling. But I know I was talking earlier. However my son ends up, he ends up. You know, I can only just pray and hope for the best for him. But it's funny how people who don't have kids or anything, people who have jobs don't have jobs will tell you how to be in this life and work and do things and live life. You don't have a clue. Tell you how to raise kids, but you don't have a clue. I think that's a problem with a lot of people, a lot of pastors out there, a lot of Christians who want to give you these worldly advice, but you have no idea. You can read the Bible, but do you know how to put those same scriptures into action in the world? If you've never been tested to put them in action, how do you know? He'll be in prayers. God will watch over him. Amen. Your son will be in our prayers as well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yours as well. My wife is probably watching, but she'll remember. I'm actually writing it down. Calvin's son. But yeah, that's my biggest issue, and it goes back to even looking at things as scriptures, and we talk about. Now, I know I'm probably going all the way back to critical text and things like that, but these guys just follow what they've been told. Matthew, his son is Matthew. Okay. My son's name is Stephen Jr. Real clever name, huh? Named him after myself. I think Brother Jorge may have met my son. I'm not sure. I don't think Chris has met my son. I don't know. Brother Jeremy's met my son. I forgot where I was going with that. Again, I feel like I'm yelling into the mic because of the rain. I'm a junior too. No kidding. Nice. I mean, I'm not a junior, but I do know that if there's one thing my mother and my father agreed on, because they got divorced, my mother. Oh, what's this? I've met 3. Well, then that would be all 3 that were living at home. Yeah. You're not yelling. Okay. I think it's just hearing the rain and thinking I'm talking more or higher than I have to. But then again, I talk loud sometimes anyways, but thanks for letting me know. Appreciate that. But I was going to say something about referring to our brother Nick. Oh, critical text. We tend to regurgitate something we've heard instead of really investigating it. And I believe that that's what happens with some of these guys is they regurgitate, whether it be the popular James White or the Daniel Wallaces of the world. And even if we go to King James, when we talk about Peter Ruckman, D.A. White, Sam Gipp, Gail Riplinger, a lot of these gentlemen that exist, I find that sometimes we, instead of learning maybe something from them or gleaning something and putting it into our own words in something else, we tend to just repeat what we heard and say that that's it. That's the truth. Well, Daniel Wallace said, well, Mark Ward said, Wes Huff said, James White said, D.A. White said, and I'm not saying, again, I don't have anything against D.A. White. I'm just using him as the other side or, instead of really looking into it yourselves. That's kind of how I look at it sometimes. These can be, other men can be good references to something, but I don't know if that's making sense. But I feel like we talked about Brian earlier, who just basically mimicked and copied, and it's like if you had a computer, he copied and pasted it, and that's my problem. Yes, I've noticed that with Nick. He regurgitates info he's covered many times over. Yeah, I don't understand. I like Nick. Don't get me wrong. I think he's got some decent stuff. I don't understand how he makes a 7-part, 8-part series on. That's a lot of info he puts into. Excuse me, when he's talking. Man, my throat is maybe because a couple hours I've been talking. Like talking about the Johannes comma, like for 5 hours. I mean, we're talking about different things here, but I think he really just a 9-part series on Paul Ankelberg show or whatever it was. I'm like, not my thing. It's just too much going on. That's why I try when I make the other videos, I try to keep things a half an hour or less. We live in a world. Let's just get to the point. I'm not saying that you have to skip over important things, but I don't. Lack of better phrasing. I mean, I know I'm long-winded. I absolutely know this. I think he tries to go over every word said in any given vid he covers. Yeah. I mean, I watched today's one because I was interested in what he was going to say about Keith Foskey there, but I didn't even get to see the whole thing. I saw like a little bit in the beginning, or listened to it, I should say, on my ride home. I probably watched or listened to half an hour of it. Then I had to go eat. Then I came back and then I had it in the background for a little while, about an hour or so probably, while doing other things. Then I shut it down because I had to focus on being ready for this evening and stuff like that. But it's just too much. It's just too much sometimes. I'm like, why? And what I'm finding interesting in his TR
King James situation. I don't know. He puts a lot into the TR. Hold on one second. So I got this a while back. The Parallel Greek TR English KJV New Testament. So this is, got, I don't know if you can read that at all. Can you read that? I'm trying to hold it, man. I can't even hold it. Yikes. So I like it. I don't think you need to know Greek at all. You don't need it. But for me, I enjoy it, I guess, to learn a little bit here and there. But he said something interesting earlier about how people are starting to become this weird movement. And I did see a comment about the modern version onlyist movement, and I believe that is a thing. He almost doesn't want to be pigeonholed as a KJV guy, but he'd rather be pigeonholed as a TR guy. And I could be wrong on that and misunderstanding that, but that's, I don't know. And what you said, I really got away from commentaries and lexicons, although I know we can and sometimes do learn from other men's writing. Yeah, but I like to stay with Sola Scriptura. Right. I also do too. And again, I think it becomes an issue of when we have a commentary, like, I don't even think I've read everything I have, but I probably, and if I've shown this, I'm sorry, I'm showing it again, but this is a Greek English lexicon. Do I need it? Nope. Does it make me a better Christian? Nope. Does it mean I'll understand the Bible even better? Nope. There's no guarantee of that either. I'm going to look for the year of this. And he was alluding to the fact, is this 1869? This can't be from 1869. Huh. I did not know this, but this was, so the note in here is from 1869 from Oxford, but it's got that old smell to it too. Well, I don't know if you could see that or not, but I just hit my desk drawer. 1881. Interesting. What an interesting date. It was compiled by Henry George Liddell, Dean of Christ Church. That is familiar to me. We talk about the Oxford movement and things of that nature. Christ Church, that rings a bell when it comes to that. But again, do I need this old Greek English lexicon? Does it make me smarter? Should I have it on a shelf behind me so that that I might know something, or I don't have to know anything, but you'll just assume I do because of Greek English lexicon? I probably looked at that thing twice. Honestly, maybe twice. Same thing with the Hebrew and English lexicon. I don't know if you've seen that. If you haven't, I'll pull that up as well. But he was referring to people wanting original languages, and there is a big thing going on now. It's like, the original tongues. Let's go back to the original language. Let's learn the original. Why? Why are you going back? Why are you not going forward? Well, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing that? If we were meant to know it, it'd be more accessible over all these years. Like it's just, suddenly it's a thing? No. So, but I find with him going to TR and very much wanting the Greek, I'm wondering, are we putting more emphasis on bringing people to Greek than we are to the King James Bible? That's my curiosity with that. I'm wondering if that is the intent. And I'm not saying it is, but in a way, is that not kind of trying to go back to the original languages. Again, I like to learn a little bit of Greek. I like learning a little Spanish. I like learning a little French. I know a little bit of everything. That much. But I like different words and different things, different sayings. I remember from my wife, not to be sappy or anything, I tried to write her a love song there and on her when we were married or on our anniversary there. And I tried to write it in Italian because she's Italian. So I tried to write in Italian. And so I looked at the words and put it together in a song form and stuff like that. I enjoy a little bit of different languages. I think it's fun and it's neat. But again, learning that Italian love song, how to write an Italian love song. Well, I just wrote my own words in Italian. Yeah, it doesn't mean I needed to learn it doesn't mean it made me love her more. It doesn't make me love her more because I wrote Italian or I know the original language of Italian. Doesn't make me a better Catholic if I know how to speak Latin. Doesn't make me a better born again Christian, Bible believing Christian if I know better Greek or Hebrew. And I think people think they need these things, and that's what's people going to lead to traditional things like the Roman Catholic Church, like Greek Orthodox Church, and things like of that nature, and Sedevacantists and so forth. That Nick's position on TR is befuddling to me too. I gladly accept the moniker King KJV. Yeah, you did. I was going to mention something, not to you, but I was going to mention something along the similar lines because he had mentioned, I think earlier in the video, how all these people come out of the King James only movement and go into modern critical text, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm literally the opposite direction. I came out of the basically, what does Gail Riplinger call it? I'm assuming she coined it, New Age perversions, because it's always accredited to her and everything I see from other people attacking her. And again, I really don't know much about her other than I get the one book. I know that she's wrote stuff, and but I don't really know a lot. I wrote. I have that one book I think I showed you guys. I still haven't read. I got it from my brother. He sent it to me. But the New Age perversions and stuff like that. And I don't understand the attack. I do, but I think Riplinger probably said some good stuff. She probably said a lot of stupid stuff. I'm sure Sam Gipp has said a couple. He said a couple things I actually agreed with on that thing he was doing, that Paul Ankelberg show, which I actually remember that show. And he probably said some stupid stuff. I probably say some good stuff, and I probably say some stupid stuff. I don't know, but it's just this odd thing. And Peter Ruck, I will say this about him: he's a defender of the King James Bible. I mean, love him or hate him. I mean, he is. I haven't read all his stuff or anything like that, but yeah. I like New Age versions by Gail, but some of her other books are a little off the mark. Yeah, I thought, is it New Age versions? I thought it was New Age perversion. Sorry. Is that the one with like the dragon on the cover of the book? I'm thinking that's what it is. I think that's the one that James White uses to basically talk down to her and stuff like that. And I don't believe a woman should be in that position, but that's another story. And what will get me in trouble, I'm not a big believer in interracial marriage as well, but for a different reason than one would think, and a different type of interracial. So that's going to throw people. Yes, sir. It is that one. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was that one. I don't have that one either. However, I did buy the Clarence Larkin book, just for the fact that I'm like, whoa. I mean, I do not like Arthur Pink. I think he's crazy. He's ultra hyper Calvinist. But I was like, whoa, this is an old book with the word. I'm going to check this out. This Godhead thing. See, I buy things for different reasons, not because I'm going to follow them. Like Clarence Larkin, I know a little bit about him. I know some stuff about him.
But I don't have any books by him. And I thought, well, here's a perfect opportunity to grab a book from him. I know some, obviously it's about dispensationalists. He's into dispensationalism and so forth, and which is fine, obviously. But I've never had his stuff, so I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity. It's sitting right in front of me. I was hemming and hawing actually to buy it or not. I'm like, do I want to pay that much money for it? I don't know. And but my incredibly awesome, beautiful wife, because she was having, she bought a King James Bible to have it. What do you call it? Not monogram. Is it monogram? Yeah, putting her son's name on it to give to him. We're working on them. But and she ended up getting the book. I didn't even realize she got it because she told me how much. I said, so how much was everything? I don't pay attention. I don't. We're in a Bible bookstore. I'm not concerned about what my wife is buying. Well, as long as it's not an NIV. I'm just saying. I don't want that at all in any shape or form. But she ended up grabbing that book. I was like, yikes, it's kind of expensive. It was like $35 or something like that. I'm not. Listen, you've heard me talk about thrift stores. That's where I'm looking. But it is what it is. We got it, and still haven't read it. It's in my it's on my nightstand. I'm gonna. I promise. I'll get around to that. A lot of things, but you can. Speaking of gleaning, title is called glean. You can't really see it, but it says glean the Godhead. But you can glean something off of different things, and I don't care that people call me a Ruckmanite, which, by the way, I find hilarious and awesome. I remember one guy said, "Oh, you sound like Sam Gipp." I'll never forget that. Somebody said in a comment, "You sound like Sam Gipp," and I, at that point, never even heard of him. Never heard of Sam Gipp. Never heard of him at all until this guy mentioned it. And I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, I just got accused of being like someone I've never heard of. So because I didn't know any of these people and the King James people, the King James only is. I didn't know any of these people. I'm from the Assemblies of God when I was a kid. NIV. That's what we were. She's never placed herself in any type of position of authority within a church and has even refused to answer questions that only a pastor should. Well, that's good. I commend her for that. That's awesome. That's very good. I commend her for that. Absolutely. Not that she needs me to commend her, but supposedly, I'm just bringing this up because I keep hearing this. I hear it from Nick. I've heard it from other people about this whole, like, she really wasn't married or she was divorced or something, a remarriage that, I don't know, some nonsense. I have no idea, but it's amazing. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's kind of funny. The moment you say something that may be against something, they're going to find something. They're going to dig something up to hopefully discredit you. Let's talk about remarriage. Divorce and remarriage. I did mention interracial marriage earlier, but divorce and remarriage, such a touchy subject, isn't it? I suppose the reason I like Gail is because her work taught me a lot about the errors in modern versions. Oh, I'm not, and I'm sure you're not misunderstanding me. I'm not putting down Gail at all. I can't because I don't know a lot about her. It's just some stuff I've heard, and the fact that and I do know that that's one thing she spent time on. My wife told me about her. Actually, I think it's my wife who told me about her. She broke her back or something. I think she broke her back. That sounds like what's happened. She broke her and spent a year researching or something like that, and found all these all these errors. That's what I heard from my wife. I really don't know. But like I was saying before, I actually became a King James onlyist, and I've mentioned this numerous times before I ever heard of Peter Ruckman, Gail Rippling, or Sam Gipp. I don't even know who else would be the creme de la creme of the King James onlyist. I don't know. And that was, I think that gives me a better perspective, I guess, because I became a King James onlyist after reading the King James Bible. I've read the NIV Bible.
And when I read the King James Bible, and I'm sure you've all heard this from other people, but you just knew. You just knew it. And I'm not talking about the type of New Age charismatic, nar, apostolic, feeling emotion thing. I can feel it. I don't mean it like that. But you just knew. Luke 4:4, obviously, I remember that standing out to me and looking that up, and I remember calling my brother. I called my older brother. He's older than I am. He is 61. I think he's 61 or 62. I'm sorry. 7 years. I didn't know she was in bed that long. I thought she was. Yeah, that's what I heard. I thought I heard she was in bed, and I thought it was a broken back or something. I don't know. She was bedridden for 7 years and writing New Age Bible version for wow. That's pretty wild, man. See, I didn't even know that. See, that's how far out of a loop I am of the King James onlyist crowd. I didn't know that. But I just remember I read it. And the first time I read it, I remember timing it, which is weird. 88 hours, by the way, it takes to read it. I didn't read it 88 straight hours, but it takes 88 hours to read the King James Bible. I remember calling my brother up. He's 61, I think, 61, 62. He's basically roughly 10 years older than I am. I said, hey, Artie, did you know we were lied to about the Bible and the stuff not there and missing from the NIV? He goes, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, so you know, but you don't tell me. That's kind of wild. But he was interesting because he studied a lot of different things, a lot of religious material. He'll tell you the King James is, yeah, that's it. But he likes using all the other Bibles, he says, when he's doing different studies. And he lives a worldly life. So he reminds me of some of the Baptist, a lot of Christians who talk, but they don't walk the talk. You know what I mean? And that's what we have a lot of out there. More of it on the internet than ever before. I say writing, but she was actually collating the difference. Yeah. No, I know what you meant. It's kind of, I don't want to put myself on the same level as Gail Rimplinger, but it's kind of what I do is I take all these different verses and I'm putting them down. I'm cross-referencing them to different Bibles, and then like, wait a minute, that's not here, but it's here, but it's changed there. It's changed there. What text are they using? So then I look up the text of what they're using. I'm like, oh, they're using that. Okay, I got you. They use this text and the other text. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing. You put everything together. As you well, I don't have any fancy slides. I don't put in. I just write them out. I don't even think all the font is the same on some of the stuff. I just get them on the PDF and I just read them off what I wrote from each one. But I think it's important to know these differences because I think, again, and you all brought to my attention too, Brother Jorge and yourself talked about that, about doing something on Westcott. So there's a free PDF of New Age Bible. I probably won't ever download that. But if anything, I will buy the paper copy. As you know me by now, I'm just a paper copy guy. I love having paper copies of everything. And I'll get around to ordering it. No, I shouldn't say order it. I'll probably just buy it. If it's at this place here or the next time I'm in Pensacola, which will be in May, actually. We go on vacation every May. At the end of May, we take some time. We'll be down in the Gulf Shores. Beautiful. I was going to say something about that when we're talking about the water up north. But, and we'll go over to Peter Ruckman, the King James onlyist guy, his store. It's a great store. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been there, Brother Calvin, but it's got a lot of stuff in there. It's got a lot of great gospel tracts. I bought a lot of them while I was down there. We spent a lot of money down there. A lot of good stuff in there to get. So we'll go down, and I'm guessing that he's probably got Gail Riplinger. Well, he doesn't have anything. He's no longer alive, but he's probably got Gail Riplinger stuff. I have to assume he does. He's probably got Sam Gipp as well. You know, if they're part of that whole crowd, the King James onlyist people that everybody wants to hate, then he's probably got their books as well in his store. That's my guess. But I'll probably buy it then, and I'll get getting around to buying it. But like I said, I got the other one there, but I haven't even touched that one yet. It's probably gonna be a while before I would get to look at it. What was I gonna tell you guys too? Oh, I already told you about the Order of Malta. Were you guys, Brother Calvin? Were you here earlier when I was talking about the Order of Malta Catholic Bible? I'm not sure if you were here or not. But I found another thing I had, the Spirit-filled, and I didn't look this name up yet because I can't remember who he is. There's another book, the Spirit Bible. So sometimes I don't even know what I have. It's kind of funny. So this is from the New American Bible. I remember getting this, and I actually know. The funny thing is, I know where I got it, but I forgot I even had it. So I got this at the Salvation Army up in Vernon, Connecticut. Is where I got this. And this is just it's a compilation of all the verses that have to do with the Spirit, and they use the New American Bible. And as I was in it, it's compiled by Eugene S. Geisler. I know the name, and I don't know who he is. I know the name of his name. I almost thought it was a guy from The Message, but that's not. I think that's Eugene something else. But two of the quotes in here are from Pope John and Pope Paul. Right on the first page. You got John. Oh, read that. Read that. Yeah, well, that's gonna be. I don't have one of them fancy 4K cameras. Maybe one day I'll get one. But 4K, not 4K. But interesting. Another book. But here's one I never even knew existed, and never would have thought in a million years it would exist. It's the Vietnam Veterans Bible. You had to make a Bible geared to Vietnam veterans? I don't understand. Why could a regular Bible not do? Now, this is from the NLT, I think. I'm sorry, the Living Bible. This comes off the Living Bible, 1971. But this particular edition, I don't think it was in 1971, but it talks about Vietnam a lot. I'm trying to look at the printing on this. Is it 1970? Oh, it is. The only date I'm seeing. Oh, no, here it is, 1990. Okay. Vietnam Veterans Bible, copyright 1990 by Tyndale House. The Living Bible. All scripture is from the Living Bible. Why would you need a Vietnam? Talk about a money racket, right? They were talking about that over on Nick's channel. It's just a money-making racket. You didn't make the Vietnam Veterans Bible in 1975, 73, 77. You made it in 1990. We're going to the Gulf War at this point. I'm surprised there's not a Gulf War Bible. Why do you need a Vietnam Veterans Bible in 1990? Could you have not given them a King James Bible in the 1973? In the 1970s? Fascinating. And of course, like I said before, the Order of Malta Catholic Bible is indeed the New American Bible. They're all the part of the same crowd. That's what I was trying to get to with the whole Westcott lineage and where it all comes from. It's all the same. They're all the same. They change words here and there, but most importantly, they leave out certain things. They leave out the cross. They leave out the blood. They leave out Jesus' name a lot of times as well. They leave out firstborn, which we talked about in Matthew 1:25. There's a lot of things in here. Let's see. Leave out the Lord. Where am I? This is Luke we're working on. Oh, that's coming out.
They leave out blessed art thou among women. They leave out Joseph. They make that father. They change that. Get behind me, Satan. They leave that out as well. And it comes from your ERV. It comes from your English Revised Version. It comes from that. It comes from Westcott and Hort. That's your final one right there. You got a little Tischendorf. You got a little Tregelles, a little Lockman. And then you got a whole lot of Westcott and Hort. And I think Nick was saying that about Bruce Metzger literally said that they pretty much get all this stuff from Westcott and Hort, which they do. The Nestle and Allen, that's what they do. The majority, if you go in the history of Nestle and Allen, you look at each edition to find out what's changed, nothing. Very few things have changed, nothing major at all. But they keep on coming out with an edition, and you keep on making money. But nothing has changed, but they have changed it. Because they can. They know they've already mutilated it with the Westcott and Hort. So now they've gone so far off course that they can now do whatever they want at this point. Because it's a whole different Bible. It's kind of like John Piper wanted the ESV because he thought they could have something that radically changed the ESV, which it wasn't. On this page alone, we have, let's see, 25 lines. Let's see. The ESV matches up, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5. 5 times it doesn't match on this page with the Westcott Hort. 5 times. Another page, 1 John. I got different ones in here, 1:7, 2:7. Perfectly matches with Westcott Hort. Exactly the same. No change. Revelation. Every line matches. RSV does not match a couple spots. But yeah, the RSV, NIV, Westcott, they all match. They all match. And I'm not going to be doing, there's a lot of videos. I'm not going to be doing a video on all of these. I just want to do some on ones that I think are really important. Joseph, I think, is important. I'll talk about why that, because he's not the father. Who's the father? Begotten. That's an important one too. They're important. Sodom and Gomorrah. You left out Sodom and Gomorrah. It's important because of the severity of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's what they're talking about. They're literally giving you something that is a perfect reference for them to understand. You knew how bad Sodom and Gomorrah is, and so when you compare something to that, you're like, "Wow, that is horrible. We're gonna be worse than Sodom and Gomorrah." But if you don't have that, you're like, "Okay, so we're pretty bad. No big deal." I think the armed forces gave out the Soldier's Bible in World War I and other wars. Huh? Do you know anything about them? No, I don't. That is pretty cool. Well, pretty cool that's something I don't know about. World War One, though. I wonder what they handed out in World War One. Could have been the ASV. It could have been the emphasized. Could have been Westcott and Hort's English Revised. Well, that's English Revised, ERV. Could have been the American Standard. What do you emphasize? I mean, it could have been the King James Bible. I wonder what they gave out. World War One Soldier's Bible. It's kind of like the Bible I was talking about. I don't see it now. That they gave out in funerals. Somebody was telling me about this. Oh. They gave out these Memorial Edition Holy Bibles, white, which is interesting. This one happens to be, and I think it might have came from a lodge because it says on there, local, as I block up the screen. Sorry, guys. Let's see. By members of the local union 1270, January 4th, 1983. So these are, I guess, Bibles that they handed out at these funerals at one point in time. And I did not know about that. And I meant to do some work and studying on that, but I just never did. when that was a thing. Well, this was made in 1976, but this particular edition. But I thought that was in memory of. So I think it was a condensed version with selected passages. Oh, the World War One. It could have been something to give them hope or give them, faith and think what they're doing over there. They're fighting God's war and stuff like that. This does not have what it does have it. Have I shown you this before? I thought this was very interesting. Your sins are scarlet or something like that. So they have this little thing on these, and then your sins as scarlet, red like crimson. Oh, I don't want to rip this here. Red like crimson, the wages of sin is death. But I find things like these, and I try to pick them up when I can and see who makes them and where they're from and see what kind of changes are in there. I have not gone through, I might have gone through this just to look at Luke 4:4. That's quite possible. Well, interestingly enough, on this one, it doesn't tell me if it's from the King James or NIV or anything else. And maybe it does, and I'm missing it. It doesn't tell me anything. Yeah, it doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me what they're using. I'm curious of what they are using now that we're talking about. Okay, here it is. Right before you get into Genesis, right before King James. Okay, it says it's King James. Okay. King James dominated at one point in time. The first Soldier's Bible was given out in 1643 during the English Civil War to soldiers to Oliver Cromwell's army. The pamphlet titled Soldier's Pocket Bible. Okay. See the word soldiers? I'm a little off topic, but this was kind of what I was talking about and I got to get back to that series I've been doing, 1611 versus the modern, King James 2025. Soldiers is not an error, but scholars will tell you, look, they don't know how to spell. They made an error. That's not an error. That's exactly how soldiers were spelled then. And it's even phonetic. You can it's not like you don't understand. You can actually read soldiers. You see it. Soldiers. It sounds, the pronunciation's the same. You say it how it sounds. It's not hard to figure that out. But that's interesting. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. I'm definitely interested in trying to look at. I don't think I'll ever find one or even be able to afford one. Maybe a facsimile somewhere might exist. I don't know. But I'll definitely have to look into getting that. But it's funny. I have two different Bibles up here, Geneva Bibles, which, again, even Geneva, people who make the Geneva are looking to make a profit, are looking to make money. I have no problem with the facsimile, but then I have another one that's called the Patriot version. Or I think it's called Patriot version or something like that. Patriot. Yeah, Patriots edition. So why do I need the Geneva Bible, right? And then you have to sell me another one called Patriots edition, which I bought this as well as at a flea market probably. I don't remember actually where I got it, but I know I didn't buy it new. You'll never find me buying these new. But think about that. They needed to make a Patriot edition. And of course, now they got George Washington on there. So just remind me. So this is a $15.99 Geneva Bible, okay? $15.99. They have, I have to assume that's George Washington crossing the Delaware. Here's a good question for you. Was George Washington around $15.99? Why would he be on the cover? It's to get your emotions going. Oh, it's the Patriot edition. Okay. Oh, it's got George Washington on the cover? Oh, wow. George Washington read this? Oh, okay. Money. They see the visual of that. Oh, there's the other thing I was looking at. Patriots history. That's a different one. They need to make money. And I agree. I do definitely agree with Nick on that one. Brother Nick, I do agree with him on that. It's the money. I think we all can agree it's money. What was it 1904 or something like that when the copyright law in America went into effect where you had to change a certain amount to then be considered a different Bible or a different book or a revision. I want to say 1904, 1914. I can't remember what it was. But therefore, so that's why the King James fell under a different copyright. There was a copyright in England on it, but not like the American version of it. That's a little bit different. So I think when the English Revised Version got pushed over to here, which ended up just becoming the American Standard Version, the ASV, they were able to get around taking apart the King James because they changed it enough where they could be considered different. That's all they wanted to do. They just wanted to change it. It wasn't a revision. It wasn't to make it better. It wasn't to fix something. It was to change it. It's just that simple. I know this because I'm not a rocket scientist, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. That's all that's all there is to it. You know, you can have all the different versions you want. I like the Spirit-filled Bible over there, and it's actually just a New King James Version. So, and this has been going on forever, and it exists in all different things. They change things enough. It's always going to be about putting something out that's going to bring in the dollar signs at the end of the day. As you go through your Westcott Hort series, I see that I have some, but very few of the very same Bibles you expose. I don't know. I guess I am exposing them, but that's not my point. And it's great. Isn't it great to have them? Because I find it, I hate to say it's great to have an argument, but when people say it's not what it says, remember, I've twice, without trying to go out of my way, found online software version of the Bibles, and they don't match up with the actual paper copy, the actual Bible. And one of them, obviously, being I keep up here, is the New Testament of the ERV from 1885 out of the 1881. I have it here. So I'm able to, and I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord to be able to be blessed with the ability to have these copies, because when somebody says, "Oh, where did you read that on the internet? Where'd you get that off the internet?" I'm like, I didn't get it off the internet. I got it straight from the actual Bible that existed at that time frame. And that's why I do try to look for things within the first year or two, if I can, of an edition written. Like, I will try to find a 2001 ESV instead of a newer one, because I'm pretty sure that's when ESV came out, right? ESV is 2001 because Legacy Bible is 2021. And I try to find if I can. Like, I found an English Bible, and I found the New English Bible, then I found another New English Bible. So, you know, or the Prayer Union book. It's a lot of these things I find, and it's great to find them because you match them up and you're like, wait a second. These all have a common thread. There's a common denominator, and that common denominator goes back to Westcott Hort. I don't care what these goofballs like James White and the rest of them say. They say whatever they want. They might as well just admit they're Catholic at this point. It's like you're following the Catholics. You're both are saying the same things. You read the same things. And that's a big deal. How else would one know there are differences without having the actual paper Bible? I agree. And I'm not trying to, and again, I'm not trying to knock anybody or mock anyone who likes to go on the internet, look up verses and stuff. I'm just saying, be careful, be wary, pay attention, because they might slip one by you, like the ones we were talking about. Which one? I think it was Matthew 1:25. Union was changed. The word union. That was in the NIV, and the REB had another one. I can't remember what the change was in that one, but that was changed too. It's different from online. So paper copy all the time. People use the online for convenience.
But with that convenience can come a cost. Kind of like the variety store. We go to the drive-through. It's convenient, but at what cost? That's all I'm saying. I keep snapping this little case back and forth. I have a jeweler's loop. My kids and I like to look at coins and collect coins, and I have a little jeweler's loop thing that's the case for it that looks closer at the dates and stuff. But paper copy, if you have it, you can't have a better argument than that. I just saw. I didn't even know I had that. Huh. I don't know what that is. Every time I look at my bookshelves, I see something I didn't know I had. But that's another thing you'll find, and I don't know if this is on purpose. I don't know if this is the plan. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I thought it was still raining. It is still raining here. It's not going as hard. Maybe it doesn't sound as loud anymore, which is good, but it's still raining. I don't know if our weatherman is with us anymore. He might have hit the sack. It's kind of late. Yeah, it's still raining. I'll have to walk to the house in the rain. Oh, well. I guess I'm going to have to get wet. Oh, boy. Oh, how will I ever make it to the house? I just think they're a great argument to have. Fantastic. Oh, I was talking about books. A lot of these guys have the books in the background. And I did at one point. Brother Christopher's still here. I didn't know if you're still here, brother. I can hear that I'm not in the red patch anymore, but obviously I got some rain. A little bit. It's coming down a little bit. Not bad though. We weathered the storm. Not bad. We did all right. But they have things in the background to portray something. There's pastor personas I talk about. To make them look smart. Yeah, to make them look smart. I was excited when I was finally able to get this wall done. Because if you've seen a lot of my other videos, I've had books in the background, but I had no choice because of the fact that the way it was set up and where it was the only place I had to put them was behind me, which bothered me. It was convenient because I could just grab behind me. I'll say that. But at the same time, I always felt like it was a bit narcissistic to look at all these books I have behind me. Now they're just all over there. But it's moving out. Oh, snow Monday. All right. Christopher's now been banned from the channel. We're not supposed to talk about snow. Nope. I'm not having snow in Tennessee. No, I'm just kidding, brother Christopher. In the higher elevations, I did hear 35 degrees on Monday, which I think I have to run the forklift outside. Oh well, it is what it is. Now I'm off track again. I keep getting off track. I can attest to the fact you actually read those books. I got through a lot of them. A lot of them I still ain't gotten through. It does take time to go through a lot of these things, and I start books and then I find another book, and I'll come across another book somewhere, and I'll get that book, and I'll start that book, and I'll get away from that, and I'll go to something else again. I have Uncle Tom's Cabin up there. I have not read that yet. I've read some of it, and then I moved on to something else. I got Charles Darwin's papers. You have Charles Darwin? Yeah, I don't believe in Charles. Well, I don't believe in Charles Darwin. He did exist. He was a person around. But I will read certain things. And what I like is diaries and letters of these people because it gives you an insight to it. I think David Daniels, I don't watch much of his stuff anymore. I like some of his stuff. Some of the stuff I can take it or leave it. He's got some decent stuff. But I think he's writing a book or wrote a book that actually has Westcott Hort's letters back and forth, which I think is going to be a pretty cool book to have. So I'll probably have to buy that brand new, but it is what it is. I consider White, Ward, Huff, and other enemies of the word and no different than Roman Catholics. Agreed. For casting doubt on God's word and causing people to stumble. Agreed. Well, he didn't say not to eat the apple, the fruit. Wasn't an apple, by the way, but all of us have the apple picture. Did he really say that? Does the Greek say that? Okay, some said it. The doubt, and I was talking the other day. I was thinking about this, and I'm thinking about doing a video about footnotes. Actually, footnotes was because of a Bible person. I can't remember the name of the 1500s, but anyways, that's what footnotes are. Well, I mean, some people say. You've already cast the doubt right there. Imagine if you turn that around, all us King James people going. I mean, some modern critics think it says. I'm just saying. You have a squirrel moment. Yeah, I did. I did. I had a squirrel moment. I get a lot of squirrel moments sometimes. I don't mind. I just keep on rolling with the conversation. I always look over there because I'm wondering what I'm going to see next when I look over there. We'll keep on looking over there. Got the catechism. Anybody want to read the catechism of the Council of Trent? Can you explain it's not an apple? Does it say apple? In the King James Bible, does it hey, one could say maybe it's a pomegranate. I don't know. It's doesn't say it's an apple. We've made it an apple. Man has made an apple. Where in the Bible does it say it was an apple? All right, let's look. The apple. Whoops. Why is I don't know why that's just like a whole new window popped up for some reason on my computer's good. It says fruit. I was just about to type it up to go to the verse. It says fruit. Oh, Brother Colin. Good to have you as well. Still here. Thanks for still being here and enduring all this talk about everything under the sun. The ASV sure loved the footnote around worship as action given towards a creature or creator, calling Christ a creature. I did not catch that. Sir, I did not catch that in the ASV. Where is my ASV? Oh, that's the one. That I'll probably have to replace with a newer one because it's so old and fragile. It's literally 1901. The ASV that I have is a 1901. Brother Colin, you don't know that. You're new, and thanks for being here. But I do have the first printing of the 1901, and it's in kind of bad condition. So, yeah, I think Schofield was big on footnotes as well. But it's amazing how many footnotes there are. It's like, why do you need all the footnotes? If you just said what it says, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. And Brother Calvin's mentioned the New World Translation, yeah. Brother Christopher, yes, he says yes. No, no. Okay, I never knew. Always had people say it was an apple. Thank you for explaining. Hey, no problem. That's what I thought growing up too. You know, like the whole Noah's Ark. All these giant animals fit in the boat. But we know that's not 100% true. Yeah, it was a fruit. You know, you gotta remember what they ate back then. I mean, they did have apples in that region. It's not like there's no apples over in Israel, but they had dates and things like that, figs. That's how you can kind of basically figure out when Jesus is born. Although the birth of tell me if you guys think I'm a little crazy on this one, but I think I've been planning on making a video about this next topic. of the birth of Jesus, because we know Jesus has always existed because Jesus is God, right? We know Jesus is God, manifested, correct? We all know this. Nothing new. But Jesus always was, because if Jesus is God, Jesus has come in different forms. He's showed up before. So his birth is not as important as his crucifixion, because it's not really born. He was born finally in the human form that we're aware of Jesus from Mary, but he's existed before. We're going to be reading John 1. All right, let's go to John. Let's go to John. Nothing like opening up our Bible to go to John's. Some people have to say King James Bible, but you all know that's what I read, so I don't have to actually preface by saying your King James. 1 through 4. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. God always was. Jesus always was. He was. So that's why I always tell people the birth to me is, and again, at the end of September, early October, it's not as important as the sacrifice of which he made on the cross. Oh, Brother Calvin's got me reading some scripture tonight. All right. Love it. Amen. Love it. All right, we're going over to 1 Timothy 3:16. 1 Timothy 3:16. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen of angels, preached unto the Gentiles, believed on in the world, received up into glory. They are one. Jesus and God are one. They are the same. So therefore, the birth is not as important. Why do you think it was harder to figure out the birth than it was for the resurrection, the crucifixion? Because that's more important. Why do you think they always had a hard time figuring it out back in the day, the birth? They had it in October. They had it in December. They had it in January. People always assume Christmas, the birth of Christ, was always December 25th. No. In fact, I think it was a Bishop Matthew of the Roman Catholic Church at that time, because it was always been there, a form of it. Went to Constantine and actually told him. It told Constantine that they should do December 25th. Yeah, the one place in the ASV is John 9:38. Footnote: the Greek word denotes an act of reverence, whether paid to a creature, as here, or to the Creator. You know, now that you're mentioning it, I think I've heard somebody talk about that same thing. Very interesting how creature and creator, and how we can easily side shift and make something that's not there. So Jesus becomes a creature, and you get away from the creator. Again, we talk, just simply 125. We talked about Matthew 125. I don't think I have it here to pull up. I don't have a share screen, I don't think, on this. I'm trying to think if I have it somewhere. Downloads. Let me see if I pull this up. I don't know where it is. Let's see. Is this? Nope. I was hoping to pull it up. Oh, okay. So, like here where it says, in the Revised Version 1881, it says, and knew her not till she had brought forth a son, and he called his name Jesus. If you go down to the American Standard Version, and knew her not till she had brought forth a son, and he called his name Jesus.
But you go down, right? You get down to. I also had the Ferrera Fenton version in the earlier drafts, but I decided to pull that out, even though it says the same thing. I'm scrolling down, and the Catholic Bible in 1965, but knew her not until she had born a son, and he called his name Jesus. See how it's the same? See how they match right up perfectly? Excuse me. If you go down and you get the ESV, right? We talked about this earlier, how they're just a remake of the ESV to ERV. But knew her not until she had given birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. So we obviously virgin's been taken out of there. But now with all the information, the Legacy Standard Bible says we got this. This thing, we found the original, right? But kept her a virgin. So you got a virgin here until she gave birth to a son, and he called his name Jesus. All the new information that's what you came up with, you have the same thing. I definitely have that in the playlist. Now it's pouring rain again, but I will say this: I love all of you, and I just noticed it's 11:18 and it's been here for almost 3.5 hours. Got to get up early in the morning. Now that we're getting really into it, strong from whom many King James Bible believers get their Greek meanings was on the 1901. Yes, I actually tossed out my Strongs. I used to have a Strong's concordance. When I found out about some of that stuff, out the door it went. But in all honesty, now I'm starting to yell again because the rain's starting to pour again. But I do got to shut it down. I got to get up early in the morning. My wife, I love my wife. Want to get her out there to enjoy the day if it actually warms up tomorrow afternoon. Brother Colin, I hope to see you again back here next Friday. We're here every Friday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. But we're usually here every Friday. Some of us are, some of us aren't. All depends on what's going on in our world. But we'll have videos in between. I appreciate everybody being here. Brothers, it's been great. I will catch you. Well, some of you might watch it, the next thing I put out, but I'll talk to some of you during the week. Some of you won't, but I can't wait to be here next Friday. God bless everyone. Have an awesome night. Now I awkwardly end the end stream.